It is go time for the NFL draft. I can tell you that I have not been this excited for a sports event in years, maybe 20 years. And this includes my Patriots going to the Super Bowl, my Celtics going to the NBA championship, but this NFL draft with the skill players, with the impact on fantasy football, and with us all hanging out on this show, watching it together. This is the most excited I have ever been for a sports event, and I'm excited to do it here with you. Of course, if you're watching us live and you'd like to come join us here on the show, just comment saying Zoom in the chat, and I will drop you the Zoom link. We're going to be opening up the Zoom room right now and getting our show underway. And this draft is going to change the destiny of so many teams this year, especially offensively, especially when it comes to fantasy football. And what we're going to be doing today here is party hopping. We're going to be hopping through a lot of the top live stream shows from fantasy football experts, getting their takes, giving our takes, and just having a lot of fun watching this NFL draft live. I see Callie has joined us. You got your NFL sweatshirt on there. Awesome. So glad to see you here tonight. What are you most excited for in tonight's draft?
Well, I'm a Michigan fan for college football. So I'm excited to see my guys, Blake Corum, JJ McCarthy, and Roman Wilson and Zach Center, see where they go. I'm excited to see Caleb Williams, what they do with him in Chicago. Also, Rome Odunze, apparently he's going to Chicago too. So that's going to be an interesting pair up. But that's all for now. But, I got a whole list of guys, like where I want to see them go. But this is an interesting draft. And it's the 89th NFL draft, the 89th.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't even noted that. So we're going to be watching live. We're going to be listening to the broadcast here, and then we're going to jump in with our reactions afterwards. There'll be people coming in and out, joining us on Zoom when they can. If you're watching us on YouTube and you'd like to join us here on Zoom, just comment saying Zoom, and I'll drop you the Zoom link. Let's hop over to our YouTube channel and just pop in on the chat. What we're also going to be doing tonight is we're going to be party hopping. We're going to be going through a lot of the different chats that are there. And I want to have everyone, Callie, if you could come over here into the YouTube chat, I'm going to drop this link into the Zoom chat. Just pull up the YouTube app and come over here and put into here who do you think is going with the number 2 pick?
Okay.
I think this will be good for us to kind of get our bets on record here. I'm going to say I'm going to go a little off here and say that Drake May goes number 2 is my prediction. So it's always fun to make a few bets. So go on over into the YouTube chat there and put that in. And we're on the clock here for pick number 1, and we're going to be hopping through. Let's check in on this party over here. This is with the Ship Chasing Show. These are the guys that won the best ball tournament on Underdog, $15 million. I watched their show a lot, so they're having a watch party. We're going to be popping in on their party. This is Underdog. This is where I do all of my fantasy sports betting. Great site for everyone to check out. This is the Big Dog Show. These guys are the best dynasty fantasy football players, so they really dial in and talk about the rookies here. I get a lot of my research from them. These are some friends of the show as well. Basically, everyone in sports is having a hangout and a party tonight, but this is the only show where you could actually join in and be in the Zoom in the party. So if you would like to join us here in You Talk Sports, we'd love to have you. We'd love to hear from your takes. We're going to start by checking in on this show here. And
love, Greg's that report that there's
each team, by the way, gets 10 minutes in case you're not familiar with how tonight is going to work. They'll be officially kicking off the draft here. Each team gets 10 minutes. And it's 32 teams, obviously, right? So if you do the math on that, it seems like this thing, I mean, 30 divided by 60 is 5 hours. It seems like this is going to be a 5-hour event. But I remember from past years, it always seems to end around midnight or so. We can see the crowd here live right now as we are amazing packed crowd. Here comes Roger Goodell. Let's listen in on what Roger Goodell has to say to kick things off here. We'll put the audio.
We waited 6 years to say this. Welcome to the NFL Draft in Detroit. Let's go, Big D. How you like that? And I was just kidding about the rap battle. We're gonna save that for another day. But the pride of Detroit has got a little some surprise for you and bringing out a few other surprises for you. So, and here you go. Detroit! What up? It's here. Make some noise for the Detroit Lions. Let's go!
Big things for Detroit this year. Callie, what do you think? That this is Detroit's year to finally make a Super Bowl?
You know what? I don't know. So if y'all know Coach Dan Campbell, so he's a former Lion himself. So I respect him for coming back to D-Town and actually like trying to revamp the team and getting that championship for their conference. So perhaps this is their year. You know, I think they're like a 90% chance. And of course they gotta have Eminem come out, and rep.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm all in on Detroit. I really think that this is their year. They've been a team that has been ascending. They've made every move. Last year's draft was really where it all started to come together, in my opinion. Like when they landed Gibbs and Laporta last year, oh my gosh, that's how a team can be turned around in one draft. And that's what I expect to see with so many of these teams here tonight. I'm excited for Detroit this year. I'm drafting as many Detroit fantasy football players as I can. And I feel like this is their year. They were knocking on the door last year. That game when they beat Stafford, oh, that was one of the greatest playoff games. I can remember Stafford played his heart out, and it was just, no, this is Goff as team. And here comes out all the old Detroit greats here. Barry Sanders. Woo! It would just be so fitting,
So football fans, thank you.
They got Goff coming out. They got Aiden Hutchinson. He's a former U of M player too.
Yeah, exactly.
He got a Big Ten championship.
I tell you, if you believe in the conspiracy that it's that it's all already decided,
We got fans from 32 teams right down
then
there.
it makes sense. This is where they're starting the season. How awesome will be if this is where it ends?
Thank you to Detroit. You guys have been awesome.
And Barry Sanders.
All right. You ready to get the show on the road?
Yeah.
Okay, the 2024 NFL Draft is now underway. The Chicago Bears are now on the clock.
They're getting booed. Boo those Bears fans.
So those are words we've been waiting months to hear.
The odds are now up to 2,000 to 1 that the Bears are taking Caleb.
Since 1947, and what do they need? They need a quarterback. They're the only team to never have a quarterback with 4,000 passing yards in a season. They got to this place because of a trade they engineered a year ago leading into the draft. A trade that led Bryce.
I'm surprised they didn't boo Goodell.
bears his pick along with that. Hole. They got the perfect young offensive lineman and Donnell White, whom they drafted a year ago, and the pass catcher DJ Moore. Schefter, they've had a lot of decisions to make. One of them involved their former quarterback Justin Fields. When did they arrive at the
Let's just listen in on some of these other shows
Here
here.
though,
Oh
now
my
it's
god, it was worse than I thought. They got DJ Moore and their first last year, and their second last year, and their second next year, and Caleb Williams for Bryce Young. God.
wow. Wow.
Oh, that hurts.
What was I gonna say? I hope, even though we have the AD Mitchell, I just hope in general, like there's a surprise wide receiver pick in the top 20. Like I just want to kick off the wide receiver line. Like if we could get like both Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy, both AD Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, and then these teams start scrambling because they're looking around and like, no, we were planning on taking a wide receiver. Next thing you know, you're Troy Franklin to the Bills.
So I gotta ask, since this is a
I
draft
think it's
party.
Lad. I think it's Lad. I'm on
So
Lad.
Yeah.
where's your
know,
draft
I'm
like
pretty
snacks and
rubbish.
meal? Like where's the
Higgins wants to
pizza?
get traded.
Where's
You have
your
the
chicken? Where's the wings? Where's the fries?
You're right, you're
Or
right.
Higgins if Higgins is
I
done.
need to go
Uh,
grab me a
wine,
brewski and
some
some
slot.
chips
I
right
think
now.
he's the one-
Right.
I don't
I got
usually
my
like
drink
that.
right here.
I don't usually like to have any food or anything when I'm on air, but tonight's the night we should. You make a good point. I
It's
might
the
run
draft party.
downstairs
Cheers.
and grab something.
Oh, we got 9 minutes on the clock.
Play outside, he's not just like a slot, but I think he would be a really good, like third piece on that offense, starting in the slot. Let's say Higgins doesn't get traded, but then he's gone after this year. I mean, then he moves to the outside, he can be kind of like an inside, outside, move him around a little bit. They moved Jamar Chase.
Let's hop around some of these parties.
Biology of his frame prevented that from happening, but there were plenty of occasions where near the goal line, he caught a pass, and instead of just taking a step out of bounds, he tried to barrel over people's faces. It didn't work. He got body slammed and suplex and stuff out of bounds, but still, I like that willingness to try to play bigger than yourself rather than play to your weight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean,
Should be talking about Caleb.
I think they just make them take all 10 minutes so that they could put more ads throughout the.
Yeah, people paid for sponsorships.
Like at minimum, you have to use 6 minutes of the clock.
No, I think they use the whole
You
thing.
think leg is gonna be a surprise? That's what people were saying.
for Xavier, it'd be interesting to see, where he goes.
I think he goes top 20 now. Like,
Yeah,
I know it was a fringe top 32 for
Rams,
process,
right
but, like,
there.
I mean, have we gotten our buddy Sean on the phone at all and heard the
Yeah.
mentions of Xavier Worthy to them?
I feel like these
I
are the
have
kind of
not
comments you
talked
get
to
when you have
John.
Spags on stream. Lad has a hot girlfriend, teams love that. Is that part of your model, Spags?
No, it's unfair. I think I'm not up with
You did say something about the analytics. Is this what you meant?
You guys had mathology on. You guys like blew up mathology. Then I had him on afterwards. I got the sloppy seconds for him doing a full
Spags, your
screen.
fan base is called the Squirt Squad. Don't try to sidestep.
Well, because the emoji and so that's flash emoji.
Yeah.
They took it on themselves. I did, you left, and then the beast got wild. I don't.
Right.
Caleb though, pretty good, huh? Good player. Pretty good. USC, like, hey, Gretsch, by the way, USC most #1 picks overall now with this one.
There you go.
We got it. UW gonna have the most busts in one draft.
UW only has
Whoa.
Steve Edmond. We got who won that matchup? Spags with
If I recall, I believe it was Washington, but Caleb was already. His nails were painted black. He was kissing his mom in the stands, crying. There's a lot going on there.
when was the last time USC was even relevant?
Today,
now, I would
you see
say
all
right
the
now.
word about Reggie Bush and things that happened 16 years ago or 18 years ago?
I'm looking at they went 10-2 in 2011. That's the last 2-win season other than the COVID year when they went 5-1.
Is that
Or
a
2-loss season.
Is that a John David?
In Minnesota.
He did say that. He said he would never watch football again.
I said if we took.
He said if Atlanta's pick gets forfeited to Minnesota.
I can't believe
Oh, yeah,
that you guys very blatantly did.
disagree.
Kirk-
Follow the rules.
I think that's highly debatable.
Hell,
Enough.
Tony, enough, okay? I see the.
What is going on right now in the
I
chat?
see,
Tony
that-
is,
hey, you wish this was you, huh? No, I don't want Caleb Williams.
Tony's having entirely too much
Please take Jake.
chaos in the chat.
Let's get from
Yeah,
Carolina.
hypothetically, but we wouldn't have.
Okay.
And I don't, I would so much rather cheer for Bryce than I would Caleb.
It sounds like some hated energy.
No, it's just I don't think Caleb has.
What are you doing to the people in the chat, Tony?
Why did you pin that, Tony?
But I feel comfortable saying JJ or Drake
Yeah,
May is gonna
Flex
leave this
also
first
can.
round as a like. By the way, shout out Nate, I know.
Oh, yeah? Do you?
Yeah, friend from Hammer.
Anywhere but the hammer.
Funny enough, Flood also knows him.
There is no way they just reset the clock, right?
No, the pick is in, so.
Pick
is in, yeah. You said pick log. Flood was both the clock.
Well, like it did reset for like 5 seconds. It went back to 9 minutes, 59 seconds. I was like,
Wondering like who sets the like, you know how you said it's 10 minutes for each like pick? I'm
Yeah,
wondering who is on the board or who's in charge of that. Like
the timekeeper.
yeah, like how did they like come up with to do 10 minutes, like instead of like 10 minutes, like I wonder if they all had a meeting like before the
Oh,
draft
yeah.
or whatever, and and they're like, oh, let's do 5 minutes, like let's do 10 minutes, like when they were all at the headquarters of NFL. I don't know how they do it, but
Yeah.
all the big people, like, yeah, like someone
Well,
say, oh,
I feel like the teams would like to have longer. They could work out more trades, but
Mhm.
that they need to make it work for TV. Like it's a long time to be sitting around.
yeah,
So
especially till midnight.
it's funny, those guys on that talk show were saying they make the teams use the full 10 minutes. I think it's the opposite. I think they because this thing never goes for 5 hours. They don't want it to go that long. If you have your pick ready, they want you to make the pick because they want to keep it moving, keep it exciting. But maybe in the beginning here, like there's no reason for the Bears to be taking their full 10 minutes, right? It's kind of like ridiculous. This has got to be just for them to get in commercials and stuff.
Good at what he's comfortable with. And that's a tough thing. It's a lot of times coaches make quarterbacks adjust to what the coaches
This
want.
looks like
not
Jay
the other way
Gruden
around.
down
I
here.
try to get a feel for what guys were good at and try to adjust what I would do to what they can do. Example is we had Robert and Kirk. I hired Sean McVay as offensive coordinator because he was with Kyle Shanahan, and Robert did have a great year his rookie year. So I try to implement a lot of those zone reads and the play actions off those zone reads. Kept that terminology the same so we didn't have to reteach a whole new offense. So tried to utilize what he was good at. But yeah, that's what it's all about. You're just trying to teach your system terminology and then let them go out there, play and perform. And then if you have to go back and redo some of the stuff, delete some of the stuff, add to some of this, it's a fun process, but you definitely want to get a core group of plays in that it's your nucleus and your firm belief that your offense is made for. Then obviously you're going to gear some of the plays to what they can do.
Here it is.
First pick.
Love that sound.
All right, here we go.
Chicago Bears.
He waits. He's your man. You watch him do his best to lead the Trojans to victory, despite the defense.
Of course,
Oh,
see, of course they all boo now.
That's why Caleb Williams is worth the #1 overall slot.
Well, I think you're gonna need all the stuff outside the pocket, like Cole was talking about. That's the unteachable things, and that's why these guys are trying to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and it's hard to do that from inside the pocket when those guys are putting up the points that they're doing from. But yeah, I think that his play inside the pocket is the most slept on part of his game there. There's so many reps of him staying in the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, and then looking to throw the ball. There's other quarterbacks in this class that have better scrambling ability than he does. But I thought that
Hey, Callie, I'm going to take your suggestion and go grab a beer. I'll be right back in
You're good, you're good.
60 seconds. I'll be back.
That's gonna be the difference with him. And the sacks that Justin Fields was taking, Caleb Williams will take a couple of those. He definitely needs to hold on to the football better than he does. He does a little bit of that Michael Vick one-handed stuff in the pocket. Can't have that. But I think all of that stuff is pretty correctable early on. Hopefully, he's not to play as much hero ball as he had to do at USC.
Cool. When I watch Caleb, I see like the
Aaron Rodgers vacation, the Patrick Mahomes vacation of like these young quarterbacks, where both of those guys, when you watch just like their highlight reels or just 7 snaps from a Sunday game, you'll see these long bombs or off platform throws. But where they are so special is how they can also play quick and execute the offense in rhythm. But they also bring you everything outside of that, where it's like they're holding onto the football for that extra 0.3 or 0.5 seconds. It's almost like floating ability. Really, because the specialness, the magic they play with, it almost makes people overlook how
9 and 3 guys. He's got 2 of the greatest receivers within the last 10 years.
He's got to be.
Woods wasn't a negative.
Yeah.
Will, what's up, man?
Hey,
Just in time for the first pick.
So bad.
you're not watching your coach, man?
What's that?
I thought you might be watching your coach give the announcing. I
Which
guess
one?
not. Bill Belichick.
Oh, Belichick? What's he on? Does he have a live stream?
He's with Pat McAfee. You know that?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did remember that. I don't know. I've been following a lot more of the fantasy football shows, but we should pop into to Pat
It's
McAfee.
super awkward.
It is? Oh gosh. Will, what are you most excited about for this draft?
I would say, man, I'm just trying to figure out where these. I mean, I think we know the top 3 picks. I'm excited to see where these receivers go for fantasy. I think Marvin Harrison could be a really good spot if he goes to the Chargers, but Arizona's a bad fit for him.
Yeah, you don't like Kyler Murray? I don't know. I like Murray. I mean, I like Chargers and Herbert too. If Harrison winds up in New England, as a fan, I'll be excited. As a fantasy player, it's the kiss of death.
It is. Yeah, I don't like
Sponsored by
Murray, though.
Coors Light tonight, unofficially, by the way. It's Callie was saying, if this is a draft party, we got to have some party favors.
Who's your team, Mr. Will?
I like the Browns. So
Okay.
I was sadly looking when they had their first pick a few days ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive.
We got Callie's going for all her Michigan guys here, and Will's Ohio State guy.
I
Okay.
like JJ though. I'm a JJ supporter.
I'm gonna say this, okay? Right now, as one of the players from Michigan said at the combine, he has respect for the Ohio State, but when it comes to November, you know what the deal is. That's out.
Yeah. I do like JJ though. I think he could kind of be a solid QB, but his expectations have gone really high. I didn't think people saw him as a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I think McCarthy is so risky. I'll be devastated if New England winds up with McCarthy somehow.
Well, how is he getting that vibe of like a top 5 pick? I didn't know, during the season, I don't think anybody expected that.
I know, right?
I might be wrong.
I watched 2 games all year, regular season, and against Penn State, he didn't throw it all. Literally, they ran the ball the whole second half. I'm like, this guy is not a pro quarterback, or else they'd be using him. Isaiah, what are you most excited to see tonight? Glad to see you here.
Oh, I'm ready for the trade backs, Greg. I love it when the teams they come in and they do something completely different than what everybody was expecting. It's one of my favorite things, getting to see how teams construct themselves, where they're going, what we think about them, and how ownership thinks about them. I love the draft. It's one of my favorite times.
Yeah, I don't want to give you credit. You were the one that you texted me about a week ago and are like, hey, are we going to be on for the draft? Like, it's going to be like, what'd you call it? Like one of the best.
It's going to be the best draft of the century so far.
Best draft of the century. You put that idea in my head. I want to give you credit for that. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, I was already planning to do the show, but I'm like, you're right. Like, this is going to be like, I don't know how old you guys are, but for me, like when LeBron had the decision to go to Miami, like I can remember where I was, what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, for sports fans, it's like one of those moments that changed the whole trajectory of the league. And I think this draft is going to be like that, especially for fantasy football. Like this draft is so loaded, 6 quarterbacks in the first round, tons of receivers. And my wish list would be for Dallas to take Jonathan Brooks in the first round. That would just be the ultimate. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but that's the number one thing that I am hoping for in this draft, because I have a shit ton of Jonathan Brooks on my preseason fantasy football teams. So I need him to go to Dallas, and I need him to be a high pick, because the higher the pick, the more committed to him the team is. So if he goes in the first round, I'm like, oh man, I'm halfway to winning that $2 million tournament on Underdog.
Wow.
So I'm all in. I'm all in on him. Love to see. My second wish list would be Corum going to the Chargers, which I think is very likely. And Will was actually the one that put that idea in my head. We did this fantasy football mock draft, back about a month or so ago, and Will was like, my guy Corum. I'm like, man, maybe you're right. Like Corum, I could see it. And then I started looking into it more. I'm like, Harbaugh wants to run. He got rid of Eckler right after that. I'm like, everything is aligning. And these guys are getting drafted in like the 9th and 10th round right now. So what I did was I loaded up on all receivers. Like I have the best receiving core, and this is in the $2 million tournament, the best quarterbacks. But then I didn't take any running backs. I used a 0 RB strategy, but then I took Brooks and Corum. So like if those two guys hit, I'm going to be loaded and super. So that's what I'm most excited for this draft. So part of our plan is to party hop a little bit tonight. We're going to go through quite a few of these draft parties. This is the guys over at underdog.com. They've had a lot of great previews. We'll check in on the Pat McAfee one that with Bill Belichick when he comes on.
I'm really seeing how smart Bill Belichick is, man. Like the diagnosis he's giving on these guys.
Yeah.
It's not like he's a good thrower, but like he literally like knows plays about some of these guys from like their college.
I feel like he gets a bad rep. People think, oh, Belichick can't draft. I'm like, bro, the only thing he can't draft is receivers. He does not know how to evaluate a receiver. I will give you that. But every other position, like he has a long track record of doing well at, including getting,
and Amendola were both good. They're just slow. That's why people.
Well, he didn't draft Amendola.
They didn't.
He drafted Edelman and kind of that was a good pick though. Yeah, you're right. He drafted Gronkowski. You can't say he's not good on offense. He's had some decent running backs over the years. It still kills me that he took Sony Michel. Like, come on, Nick. Everybody knew Nick Chubb was going to be a stud. Come on, dude. How do you get the wrong guy from the right team?
He was drafted before Chubb. I didn't know that. That's embarrassing.
I know that Patriots took Michel in the first round before Chubb, and they were on the same team.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was awful, and what else was it? Oh, and then Harry Nikhil, I think he was from Georgia instead of DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel. Like that was another one. All right, so we're on the clock here. LSU just went with number 2. LSU just went. Let's tune in.
Low to take. They passed on just wide receivers in the first round, class after class. The one exception being N'Keal Harry. That's where they finally found a spot to dip their toes.
He's talking about the same thing we were talking about. Let's tune in here, see what they're saying about Jaden Daniels.
8 tackles, running 45 yards, behind the line of scrimmage, and then trying to throw a 140-yard touchdown. I don't know if that's going to work in the NFL, but I think one of the reasons everybody loves him so much is because he plays.
So that guy's the impersonator, right? That's not the real Mel Kiper.
It's got to be.
They have like the impersonator of Mel Kiper on their show, and he's doing real takes. I thought he just did like comedy.
Okay. He's leaving Hollywood, but he's still got to play Hollywood and Chicago in order to be successful in the NFL.
Well, I think Bill said the exact opposite of that. He just needs to make consistent plays for his team in Chicago, and
let's see what they're saying about the actual pick here.
Who do you want, Greg?
Anybody talk about Jaden Daniels?
No, who do you want the Pats to get?
Who do I want? I honestly, it's if you have a chance to get the next Josh Allen, you got to take it. And I do not like Drake May at all. I watched a lot of his games. I was in North Carolina for the whole fall at my parents' house. I watched him lose to NC State. I'm like, oh, but so I really, it's really one of the, I've been talking with my Boston friends. It's the biggest decision we've ever had as a franchise. Like Drew Bledsoe was our number one pick. That was our biggest pick, but that was no decision. Like this is and here it comes. The Patriots are on the clock. We're about to find out. I'm going to say, you asked me, I would take Harrison. I've come around. Well, I wasn't always a Marvin fan. To me, he's now the sure thing. Like if you take Drake May and he sucks and you get nothing out of this, like that's just, I'm just not that risky. What I don't want anymore, I do not want them to trade to Minnesota. I'll be devastated if they announce a trade right now to Minnesota. I do not want Drake May going to Minnesota. My last round fantasy sleeper for my preseason drafts has been Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is decent. And if the Vikings wind up with McCarthy or somebody, I think they could sit him for a year and play Darnold. And Darnold could have like that Alex Smith season that Mahomes had his first season. What do you got on that, Isaiah?
Well, I was gonna say the Pats pick came in. I don't know where you're at, but they picked. I know you weren't excited about it, but
tell us the pick. You get to announce it.
It is Drake May.
Drake May. Okay, you can't go wrong with taking Drake May there. I feel like if you don't pick Drake May, like you open yourself up to all kinds of criticism. So it's like the safe gamble in a way.
I hate it, honestly, but yeah, no, I mean, I understand it, but I don't like that move for them.
You hate it for New England?
Yeah, I actually had New England as one of the teams that might trade back because they don't have any clear direction in the front office. They just lost their legendary head coach. Like, this doesn't seem like the right time to go and get your franchise quarterback. Like the Bears are in a little bit of a different situation because they have been building up to this for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It just kind of seems a little early.
I get that. And honestly, like a month ago, I was in that boat. Hey, trade out, stockpile picks. But then I really started, listening to people on the show. And one of the things someone told me was like, hey, you don't get it this chance. You don't know if you're ever going to get it. You haven't had this. Like next year, you may not be in the top 3. There might only be 2 good quarterbacks. Like you just don't know you're going to get this chance again. You got to take it when it comes. I feel like that was the argument for going for it, And I feel like it also, like the new staff, this like Drake May is going to have to develop. They bought themselves a year or 2 of everyone being patient. If they take Harrison, like you're like, all right, you passed on the quarterback. You better go be good, now. So Drake May on the clock. I'll be buying my Drake May jersey tonight on Amazon and repping. I can find literally I have my Mac Jones shirt. I didn't get a jersey with Jones. I'm the guy. I even had my Cam Newton shirt when he was running the Pats. I'm like, it was so embarrassing. I would walk into the sports bar every week with it, and everyone would laugh at me. I'm like, he's our guy. I'm backing our guy to the end. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The Chargers. Will, what do you think they're going to do?
Are we expecting the Cardinals to take Harrison?
Oh, I skipped Arizona. Yeah, you're right. I feel like that's a lock. Yeah. I mean, they could
want them to take Harrison at all.
They could trade. They could trade out. I've come around to this. I've been researching Kyler Murray's stats a lot. Like he was
before
good.
Or after the video game life.
Him and DeAndre Hopkins, though, they put up stats for fantasy. They had like a really good season. They started 10-0, and like So I've come around. Kyler Murray, that tight end they got now is supposed to be really good.
The hate might have gone too hard on him. Sometimes the hate goes too much, you know? And I think that might be an example of him. The hate might have gone too far. I mean, he might be a decent quarterback, you know? Like, yeah, the hate's gone too far on him, I think.
I would tell you, one of my early season predictions was that I thought we would have the #1 pick and have Caleb at the Pats. And I was saying we could trade down to Arizona, get Murray and take Harrison. And we'd have Murray and Harrison, and then they could have Caleb. That's when I thought the Pats were in dead last. Of course, the Pats blew it by like winning a couple games at the end of the year. Belichick was trying to break his record. I'm like, what are you guys doing when we beat Buffalo? I'm like, what are you doing? Why is Mac Jones suddenly playing out of his mind, leading them game-winning drive? Well, I want Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think you got to take Joe Alt though, at the Chargers. I
San
mean,
Diego, yeah. The thing is, I hear San Diego, like, they have a good left tackle. So they wouldn't even, like,
put him somewhere else.
Slot him in center is what they
Yeah,
whatever.
he could go wherever, man. Those guys, they're all kind of the same, honestly, in a lot of ways. I think. Maybe not.
Yeah. I don't know, like when he got rid of the receivers, I was all in on Alt for them too, but when he's traded away both the receivers, Keenan and Mike Williams, I guess he cut him, and
I didn't know
like,
that. They don't
maybe
have
he's-
either one of them?
no, they got rid
Oh,
of
they need a
one.
receiver then.
Yeah, so I'm like, he's clearing the way for Malik Neighbors here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing on Cali, I'd love to get your take on this. I think Harbaugh might take Odunze. Odunze was killing Michigan in the championship game.
Mm.
He could have scored another touchdown, but it got overthrown. That could have changed that whole game. I think that like is burned into Harbaugh's mind from the championship game. What do you think about Harbaugh taking Odunze over Neighbors? That would blow up everybody's mock draft. You think he might do that, Callie?
Well, it's rumored that the Bears are supposed to take Odunze.
Well, he would drop if he drops. The Bears are on at number 9.
Yeah. If he drops, then Harbaugh definitely gonna make that call. But I'm pretty sure Harbaugh's in Detroit though right now. But he gonna make that call. Like, yeah,
well, they're on the clock. San Diego's on the clock right now, number 5. So they got their choice: Joe Alt, Neighbors, and Ndunza. What do you say, Isaiah? What do you think?
Honestly, I think Joe Alt is the right move here. It's kind of one of those situations where, yes, Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze is way too low on most people's boards anyway. But Joe Alt is just kind of like that Penny Sewell type tackle where you slot him in and he's going to be NFL ready. Like he is one of the best prospects at that position in a long time at the left tackle. I think you take him. I just think you take him because you can move. If you need him to go to left guard or right guard, move him there, and you don't have that hole. And I think Quentin Johnson will be a better receiver this year. So I don't think they take receiver here. But
yeah, they just
that's
took the
my
receiver
opinion.
Last year. They just took
Quentin Johnson, yeah.
in the first round last year. But he looked like a total bust this past year. So yeah, this will be interesting here. So Arizona wound up with Harrison. Pretty much it's pretty much going chalk so far. 4 for 4.
I mean,
like
what's that do with fantasy, man? Up or down for Harrison?
The thing with Harrison is he's already being drafted.
I know.
At the end of the first round, like the very beginning of the second round. To me,
Yeah.
that's like his absolute ceiling. He's already, he can't possibly go up anymore. It could only go down. So I've been not taking Harrison because it's like he's I'm not going to use a second round pick on a guy who's never played. So I think he's overpriced. The rookies, I feel like the rookies receivers in fantasy are overpriced because of Puka last year. There's been this streak of like Puka, Ja'Marr Chase, like there's been this streak of rookie receivers blowing up, and everybody just thinks Harrison's going to do that. And he might, but he's already priced as if he is, and it's not a given that he is, in my opinion.
Well, do you think that he is going to, because like I think Puka last year in a fantasy world created a problem because he dropped all the way into some people's, you could pick him up. After the draft was over, if you wanted to go pick him up, you could. He was taken in our draft like round 12 or 13. So I think kind of where you saw that happen, I don't think people will make that mistake anymore.
Oh, no,
and I think
Harrison's-
they're going to start taking receivers and those key position players a lot higher.
Harrison's ADP on Underdog is 14 overall.
It's crazy, man.
So they're
That's
not.
insane for a rookie receiver. That is
Everybody's just
insane.
thinking it's a given that he's going to be the next Puka, and I'm like, he might be. That'd be awesome and exciting. But like, I'm not drafting him as if that's a given. That's crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So he's already overpriced. I think he'll stay the same in the draft price. Yeah, I think that's among the spot. Like, I didn't want him to go to the Giants. That's not good. I didn't want him to go to New England. The Chargers, I feel like they're going to run it a lot. So I feel like this was his best landing place.
Who's their running back?
James Conner. I'm predicting that they're going to draft a running back 2nd or 3rd round though. And I've been taking a lot of Marshawn Lloyd. He's a USC running back. I'd like to see him go to Arizona. I think Connor's getting a little.
No, Chargers.
The Chargers running back?
Yeah, I should know this. Is
The
it
Chargers
Gus
brought
Edwards?
in they brought in Gus Edwards and
Gus
J.K.
Edwards.
Dobbins. The old guys from Baltimore.
They still have Isaiah Spiller. That was their kind of like, and then I think Josh Kelly was their other.
Kelly,
Josh Kelly
I
and
heard
Isaiah
Kelly
Spiller.
got cut.
Okay. Then Spiller is still on there. I couldn't remember which one of them got cut, but that one of their rookie running backs from the last 2 years got cut. So
Yeah, Spiller didn't play at all last year. Everyone forgot about him. He's. I have to look up what round he was taken. He might be a decent guy.
I just can't imagine it's really. I mean, I couldn't imagine it's hard for those rookie type position players that in in San Diego, or no, it is Los Angeles now. Oh my goodness, in Los Angeles, when you have Gerald Everett, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, it's probably really hard to see that production and target share when you have guys that really take a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like, with a new coaching staff, they're going to want to handpick their own guys, especially at running back. And so I don't know if Spiller makes, but he's a forgotten guy. He'd be a great late round pick in Underdog. That's a really good call. I'm gonna take him in one of my drafts.
He's from Texas A&M. He's a really good running back. He's one of my favorite players. So
you don't see a trade coming, do you? It's too late it's too late to do a trade.
Yeah,
I
'cause
actually thought this might be the first trade.
That would have been exciting. It would have been the Vikings trading up to get to get McCarthy.
So who are they getting? Are we thinking
It's either Neighbors or Joe Alt, just like it says there. I'm going Roma Dunze. I'm going with the upset call.
I mean, Harbaugh rarely goes what's expected, I think.
Come on, where is it?
I could see New York trading back too. I don't see a lot of these like Tennessee, man, just like what they don't have huge needs like that to take in the first round. And
New York, this is
if they want a quarterback, but
New York is going to be one of the most. New York needs a quarterback and a receiver, and they got two good ones right on the table now. So they're going to be exciting. I don't know what's going on with this pick. Hasn't loaded.
Well, didn't they take Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt in the first round these last 2 years?
Neither of them were first round picks, but they did draft receivers each of the last 2 years. But I'm pretty sure those were not first round picks.
Something I learned, I was doing some research. I did not know how early receivers were being drafted the last 2 years. Like Amari Cooper was the 4th overall pick, which was shocking to me. I did not know he was that early. And then you got Chase, and then last year you had somebody got drafted early last year. I don't know who it was. Maybe not, actually. Last year didn't have any rookie receivers, did they?
Oh yeah, receivers becoming right after quarterback. It's it's the star position. The running backs are being treated as like
and O-line too. People don't care. It's not, you don't see them as like the top pick as much, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Quentin Johnson was a first round draft pick.
Yeah, he was.
No, I'm talking like top 5
for the receivers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
people thought the Bengals were crazy, but that worked out really well when they drafted Chase.
Yeah, well, in that year, Chase went top 3, Waddle went top 5.
Yeah.
And Devonta Smith, who won the Heisman, went like 8th or 9th or 10th. So there was like 3 receivers in the top 10 that year. This year is going to be even better. This year is going to have 3 receivers in the top 10 again, maybe even more.
Wow,
wow.
This is a little weird. So I looked at it, Will, because you brought it up. Last year there wasn't a receiver taken until position 20, and then 3 were taken right after. So then they were the only receivers taken in the first round. They were all taken right back.
Remember JSN,
Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, and then Addison.
None of them, I don't think any of them came in solid, but I just saw AJ Brown just broke the record for most guaranteed money in NFL history for a wide receiver.
No way. Did he re-sign with Philly?
Yeah, 3 years. That was like an hour ago.
I think he got 30 million a year.
I bet
and Philly just gave Devonta Smith 20-something million a year. They have so much money at the receiver spot.
Titans got to regret getting rid of him.
All right, so now the Giants are up. The Giants need a receiver or a quarterback. They got their dream situation because there was a lot of talk that the Giants might trade up to try to get McCarthy, and now he just slid to them. So they have their dream situation. This will be it. To me, if the Giants don't take McCarthy, he's not going in the top 10. I feel like he'll just slide Minnesota at 12.
Let me look at what they are.
But I if I'm betting, I'm saying they're going to take a receiver. They don't have any receivers. They've already stuck with Daniel Jones for 2 more years. They got to pay him.
I love the Titans QB actually.
Will Levis?
He has a lot of potential. I didn't think he would, but he's better than I thought. But you're right.
He was that guy in last year's draft, right? There was all these rumors that he might go number 1 overall. And then he fell out of the first round. He was that guy they kept showing in the green room, like Rodgers, embarrassed that like, nobody's picked me. And he fell all the way out of the first round. And they really are building around him. They brought in Ridley, they got DeAndre, like Tennessee's all in. I was surprised. I thought Tennessee was rebuilding, but they're going all in with Will Levis.
Yeah,
they need O-line. Their O-line sucks.
Who's the Falcons QB?
They brought in Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's gonna slide.
Cousins, yeah, I think he's old and coming off.
No, JJ, which is tough.
Well, Cousins is on Atlanta. I'm sorry. Yeah, Minnesota has nobody. Minnesota has Sam Darnold.
That's where he's going to go, I think.
Yeah. Well, Minnesota wanted to trade up here with the Giants to get McCarthy. That was the rumor. And or they wanted to trade up with New England. Minnesota was offering New England 3 number 1 picks to trade up.
Really?
Because they have Minnesota has 2 picks this year, number 1, and they were going to give them next year's number 1 as well. So 3 number 1s.
I would have done that, man. That's surprising they didn't.
Well, they want
a
quarterback, though.
I know. May must be really good in their mind, but you know me. I like a guy who might not even be drafted in the first round. He's injured. He's injury prone, but I think he has potential.
Who, Penix?
Yeah.
Yeah, Penix, the best predictions I've seen have him going to the Raiders.
Yeah, he might slip out of the first round, to be honest.
Yeah.
They have Bo Nix in front of him.
A lot of people are mocking him to Seattle, but I don't see it because they have quarterbacks. They just traded for Sam Howell. I don't see him going to. I think that's just because he's from or played at Washington.
All right, who are they getting?
The pick is in. The Giants waste no time. Will it be a new era with JJ McCarthy, or will they go receiver? I'm betting they take Malik Neighbors. Could be Odunze as a long shot.
I know, because the Chargers got, they got Alt from Notre Dame. I thought they were going to take Odunze. But...
Yeah, so they have no receivers. The other thing, though, this year there's a lot. Supposedly this is the deepest draft for receivers. there's 15 receivers that have first round grades from various experts. So maybe the Chargers are thinking we get our receiver in the second round. But then I'm like, are you going to risk getting Corum in the third round? Oh my gosh. But some people are saying Corum's like a fourth or fifth round pick. So we'll see.
Do you see him as a goal line back, or is he really like a every down kind of back in the NFL? Oh, interesting.
Malik Neighbors, yeah. I see Corum as, and he doesn't have the explosiveness to break away, for long runs, but I think he can be your grinder every down back.
Yeah.
If he goes to the Chargers, he'll be, splitting time with Gus Edwards. He won't be, most teams have used 2 running backs. It's rare that a team like just goes with 1 running back, and it's very injury prone to have just 1 running back. Yeah, so Malik Neighbors, the LSU receiver, going to the Giants here. I feel like this is bad for Malik Neighbors' fantasy career. To play with Daniel Jones has ruined every receiver who's ever been there. and he might not even be healthy. It's not a given that Daniel Jones is going to be healthy. Isaiah, what's your take on Neighbors going to the Giants?
I was just, it's funny because I was just looking up who their current GM is, because whoever it is, I think, he really shouldn't be here. I just like, they haven't, here's the problem I have with this kind of pick. You have drafted, you're right, Jalen Hyatt went in the 3rd round, but Wan'Dale Robinson went in the 2nd round. In the last 2 years, you spent really good investments on a receiver and you can't develop them. So why take one in the 1st round when you can't develop your 2nd and 3rd round receivers? So I think that this is they are hoping Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones from 2022, not Daniel Jones from 2023. I don't like this pick. I think the Giants should have traded back.
Daniel Jones in 2022 was not that good. Well, like you said, their GM, they gave him just last year. At the beginning of the year, they gave him 4 years, $100 million. They're stuck with him on a really bad contract. And this last year he sucked, and then he got hurt. He sucked for his first 3 years, and then that 4th year, like, he did enough. He got him to the playoffs. He was running a lot, so he was top 15 in fantasy, not top 10, not like 100 million, but they thought he could get better and better. And the devil's advocate would be, well, he's never really had a receiver. Now he's got Neighbors. Neighbors is supposed to be like a stud, like as good as Harrison. Neighbors is supposed to be like Ja'Marr Chase, like instant all-star. Those other guys they took were kind of stretches. And the argument would be like, hey, since Jones didn't play, we couldn't really see what Wan'Dale did. Wan'Dale got hurt, I think, too. So we really didn't see what he could do. I like Jalen Hyatt a lot in college. I thought he was like a playmaker at Tennessee. And all they did with him was like send him deep as a decoy. So maybe now that they have a receiver, I'm interested to see what the Giants do at running back. Devin Singletary is all they have left right now. That is not good. They need to bring in a rookie. And I don't think it's going to work out. It never works out for either of the New York.
Right. I'm thinking through this. I almost wonder if you take a guy like this and then, like, who are the 2nd round QBs? Like, they might still pick a quarterback, but he might be like a 2nd or 3rd rounder who honestly still has a great chance of being good, Like, that's kind of the question. Would you rather have like a superstar? Would you rather have like the top, like a JJ, and not have, and then like a 2nd round receiver the other way around,
Yeah.
But
well, and you make a good point, Will. Like the best scenario is to get a rookie on a late contract, like Brock Purdy, where now you're spending nothing on quarterback. You have all that money to bring in other players. And, if you take a quarterback top 5, it's a pretty big salary that they get.
Would you trust anyone?
No, it would be just
like,
be
who's the
Spencer
quarterback?
Rattler is a guy that they talk about. He started over Caleb at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then transferred to wherever he went last year, Kentucky or something, I
Oh,
think.
Nix is, I can't believe he's old. He's older than half the NFL quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Milton, dude. I like Milton, Joe Milton. I didn't know he was going pro. The Tennessee guy. And then Sam Hartman could be good. Maybe.
And I mean, those are all long shot players, but yeah, I feel like every team should take a quarterback in the like 5th, 6th, or 7th round, because it's just like buying a lottery ticket. If you hit on one, it's so valuable. You have that great contract, or you have an asset you can trade. For
Who's the
sure.
Tulsa guy? I've never heard of him.
Who is it?
Tulsa, Michael Pratt.
Yeah, I've seen him on the list, but I don't remember Tulsa being relevant at all.
And do you guys, Isaiah, do you know about him or no? He's actually
No, I can't.
High.
I can't say I'm familiar with Pratt.
Here comes Tennessee. They really need to go O-line. It's tempting because Odunze is like a guaranteed All-Pro. Imagine, Will, if they get Odunze, Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins, that would be like the best receiving core out there. If they do take Odunze, it would be ballsy. But they really need O-line. They wanted Joe Alt really bad. They were hoping he would come to them. This ESPN says Dallas Turner. I guess they need defense too, but everything I've heard is their O-line was just dragging Derrick Henry down these last couple of years. They really need O-line. I don't like their running backs either. They gave Tony Pollard a big contract. I thought he kind of sucked last year in Dallas. They have Taj Spears. I wish they would just play him. I thought he looked decent last year.
Who are usually, is there even a 1st round running back this year?
No 1st round running backs this year, they're saying.
Interesting.
There's about 3 to 5 that are projected for the 2nd round, but no 1st round running backs. I'm still hoping Dallas takes Jonathan Brooks. That would literally like make my day.
Braylon Edwards, I watched him a few times. He's not bad, honestly.
Yeah, I read a lot about all the rookie running backs, been watching videos.
Is he a fantasy guy or no?
If he gets in the right situation.
Braylon Edwards, yeah.
He's a big banger. He's another Wisconsin guy. He looks just like Jonathan Taylor. I could see him going to Tampa, maybe Buffalo. If Dallas took him, oh my God, that would kill my fantasy teams, but that would I could see that working. The thing with Braylon Allen is his first 2 years at Wisconsin, he looked like the next Jonathan Taylor. And then last year they brought in a new coach. He switched them to playing in the shotgun, and he sucked. Braylon Allen's like he didn't adapt to like the spread offense. So you don't really know now like what happened. But if you go back to just the last 2 years before that, he looked like he was going to be the next Jonathan Taylor.
Other guy I like is Will Shipley. He might be a late pick.
Braylon's mapping in like the 3rd round. Shipley's 3rd or 4th round. He's really high on everyone's list. Shipley's the same type of thing. Everyone says last year he sucked, but the year before that he was good. But I always look at that like this whole Clemson team sucked this past year,
He's really low, man. I mean, he's the 12th running back on ESPN.
Yeah.
That's really low.
I mean, he was a 5-star recruit out of high school. I remember like him being like one of the guys, like people were talking about him going to Clemson was a big deal. He can catch the ball. He can run. Clemson went downhill and so you don't really know how good he is or isn't.
All right, let's see who they get.
O-line.
I'm gonna say the pick is in.
Is that you picked, Greg, in our 10 draft thing?
No, I did not have them going. I think I had Alt fall into them.
Let's see who you had.
Oh, wow.
Alabama's O-line. They needed O-line, so I get the pick for need. This was definitely Odunze was the better talent, but they went with the need.
Yeah.
They're taking
Man, I feel like that's a little bit of a reach, though. He was a late 1st rounder. They might have been able to catch him on the 2nd round, but I guess they wanted their guy.
I don't feel like there's any way he was getting out of the top 12, Latham. But he's still they're not at 12. They're at like what was their pick 7? Like
Yeah.
that. So it is a reach, but more like a 5 to 10 pick reach, not a second round pick. So Atlanta's up. Everyone's been mocking Dallas Turner to Atlanta. Again, if Atlanta takes Odunze, oh my gosh, that would mean Drake London and Odunze. So this is the slide everyone was talking about that Callie was mentioning. Odunze sliding to the Bears. Odunze should be gone by right now, but these teams don't need receivers. I bet their phones are ringing because like Jacksonville is dying to get Odunze. The Bills would do anything to get Odunze, but the Bills are back at 28. You're not going to. It's so hard to trade up from 28 to 8.
Are we really not going to see a trade in the top 10 picks? Does that happen a lot? I feel like maybe not. I don't know. I don't watch the draft all the time.
The Bears are highly rumored to be trading out of 9, and taking one of those deals for Odunze. I do not want Odunze to go to the Bears. I've been very high on DJ Moore. It already pissed me off that the Bears brought in Keenan Allen. That was not good for DJ Moore. If they bring in Odunze or Brock Bowers on top of that, one of those guys, and this next pick, that's going to really crush DJ Moore.
What happened to Bowers, man? He was supposed to be really good. Like, he's sliding like crazy.
Yeah, I feel like it's the Kyle Pitts effect. Like Kyle Pitts was supposed to be this dream tight end, and he was such a bust. And it may not even be his fault. He's just had bad quarterbacking, you know. There's been over the last 5 years or so, there's been a lot of tight ends where everyone's been like, this guy's going to be the one, and then they all bust. And now Bowers is kind of sliding, but that just shows you how good this draft is, because Bowers would be, a top 6 or 7 pick in any draft.
I think he also really couldn't stay on the field this last year. So I think that may be some hesitancy as well.
That's a good point. You know, he had the one injury, and then he didn't go to the combine either, so because of that injury. So you don't have any metrics on him. If Bowers, I have a lot of Bowers. I've been drafting a lot of him. I'm very high on him. I think he could be the tight end number 1 in fantasy this year. If he goes to like the Bengals, oh my gosh. My dream scenario for Bowers would be the Bengals trade T. Higgins and bring in Bowers, and Bowers would be like the second pass catcher on that Bengals team, and would blow up this year. That would be amazing.
He more of a wideout, like disguised as a tight end, or is he actually like a legit tight end?
He is a tight end, but he's really like a guy you throw those quick outs to, the screen passes to. He has amazing, like his yak is like off the charts. Like you cannot tackle him once he gets the ball. So you just throw those little short passes, kind of like how Mahomes throws them to Kelsey.
Yeah.
That's his specialty. But he also, he's decent enough he can block. He's not built to be a receiver.
He's got that Pitts kind of draft type profile, Will, where he's incredibly athletic for a tight end.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing with Pitts is like a downfield guy, a speed guy, whereas Bowers is like a catch a screen and take it guy. And that's what's killing Pitts, is he just hasn't had a quarterback who can get the ball downfield to him.
That was one of my favorites.
I haven't given up on Pitts yet. Pitts is like that girlfriend who's like heard you so many times. She's like let you down or cheated on you. And she's like, things are going to be different this time. I've got a new quarterback.
That Florida team was crazy, man.
I'm a sucker. I would take one more chance. Yeah, Kyle Trask, man. Kyle Trask was bombing with that team.
I know.
Kadarius Toney.
It crushed me. That was the stupidest penalty. He threw a shoe. And like they would have gone to like a playoff game, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
The shoe.
Was that Tony? I remember that play. I don't remember who it was.
But yeah, that was wild.
I think Kyle Trask can play. I want to see what's
where's he at?
He's on Tampa. It was an open
Oh.
competition between him and Baker last year, and Baker beat him out.
What the heck?
Who'd they take? They didn't take.
Oh my God!
Oh my, what?
I knew he was gonna.
Wow!
I knew it, man.
Wow!
Why?
I've been hyping him up.
Wow!
I knew
This is
Penix was solid.
no one predicted this though. This is insane.
Dude.
So here's what I think happened. I think they were expecting JJ to be gone, but they fell in love with Penix. That had to be it.
JJ's still on the board.
I know, but they were expecting him to be gone.
But Atlanta just gave
Yeah.
Cousins 4 years, 100 million guaranteed.
Oh, that's
It's not going to play.
I am.
This makes no sense at all. There could be a trade coming. There could be a trade.
There has to be something
Right.
that we don't know about.
Let's hear what people are saying.
That is wow.
Weird.
That I need to talk to. And now him going to Arizona, I think it's a good situation for him. I think it's a good situation for
They behind us here, yeah.
You got hit live, yeah.
And you draft another quarterback, you're just going to sit him for 2 years? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Arthur Blank and the boys down there, they think they have the team that can compete to win right away, so they don't need, an impact.
I can't get commentary from an impersonator. I mean, give me the real guy here. This makes no sense. So Penix is old, right? He's 25. You can't sit him for 4 years while Cousins plays. He'll be 29. Like
that this is the only thing that crossed my mind when I first saw that is they have to be worried about his injury report. They have to be worried about his injury report. And they said, you know what? He's the best quarterback available right now in free agency. Let's grab him. And on the off chance that his Achilles did not repair or if he's not the same player, they have a backup. That'd be my only.
wow, that is just shocking. Over JJ is shocking, and to Atlanta is shocking. There's got to be a trade coming. There's just no way. Like if you're worried about Cousins, you don't give him 100 million. It's guaranteed money. They gave him a guaranteed contract.
Well, it's basketball, but Atlanta and the Mavericks did the same thing. Even though their picks were back-to-back, Mavericks drafted Trae Young and Atlanta drafted Luka Doncic, and they swapped.
Yeah, but that always happens in the NBA. I've never seen that happen in football, where they swap later on. Because you're right, though. You make a good point. That happens a lot in the NBA. You see a guy go up there and get the hat for one team, and he's all excited, and then like 10 minutes later, they're like, "We're announcing a trade." But I've literally never seen that happen in football. So that is just an absolute shocker.
I mean, trade back, right? Like, if this is what you want, trade back.
Yeah, exactly. Trade back. You can get them 10 rounds later. Wow. And now we got the Bears. They have McCarthy there. They have Odunze there. The Bears are definitely taking trade calls. I hope they don't take Odunze. I'll be quite crushed if they take Odunze as a third receiver. I need DJ Moore. I've been drafting him as if he was their only receiver. I don't need him to be the third receiver. It's bad enough he brought in Keenan Allen, but they do want to put weapons around Caleb. They could take Bowers. I don't love Bowers going here either. They got to be traded out.
Okay, so let's say Rome Odunze goes right here, Greg. What do you think then the Jets do?
The Jets go Bowers or O-line. If they're smart, they'll go O-line, but if they want to appeal to their fans, they're going to go Bowers, in my opinion.
I mean, is JJ a terrible pick? Rodgers is like old. Like,
you make a good point. Like, that is a good point. But I think they're in win now mode. They think they can go to the Super Bowl. The New York fans are crazy. They think they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. They're like, Odunze! Oh,
there he goes. Oh my goodness. I think the Jets just traded out of the first round.
Oh my gosh. Cal called it. Odunze to the Bears. Oh,
There's
I
gonna
did
be a
not want
Dunze
that.
and Caleb Williams.
Man,
see what
I
they'll
did not
do.
want that. Minnesota on the clock. Okay, we know
Yeah.
where JJ's going.
Let's see where who Minnesota gets.
All right, did anybody mention,
They need to. Sorry, go ahead.
anybody mention like Penix to the Falcons that you know of? Or,
No,
like,
there was
was that
no
even
talk
talked
of
about?
Penix in the top 10. No, Atlanta just brought in a quarterback. Nobody was on that at
Yeah.
all.
I'm so confused. Why did Minnesota move up? If the Jets thought that Minnesota was going to take their player,
No, because they think that Denver was making the Jets an offer to move up as well.
Wait,
Oh,
they have
I
the
see.
11th
Okay.
pick too? Do they have the next few picks?
Minnesota, no, they traded up. They only have
they
one.
just haven't updated it.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, they must have flip-flop picks.
It's flip-flopped on ESPN. It shows Minnesota 10, Jets 11.
That's why Isaiah's question was, why would they trade to move up one spot? But I feel like Denver, the Jets might have even been bluffing, saying Denver's offering us this. What do you want to offer us?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's the only way I see Minnesota trading spots is if they knew that Denver or Oakland were hunting. I'm still so confused by the Michael Penix Jr. pick. I don't know.
I've got people that want to come up and get the fifth guy. You got to give me something to come up one spot. Interesting. Even if nobody has? Even if nobody has. Oh my God. Here.
Let's see what some of these shows are saying here.
Less bad than them. Bowers is looking rough.
Yeah, Bowers isn't going
It's
top 10.
done. Yeah, it's done once that trade happened.
He's gonna go 11 because of a trade back of one pick.
Oh, it's time. It's not time. It's not.
Pete, the biggest reason you convinced me was you talked about how the lower on 10.5 included the chalk landing spot of the Jets, and they moved back with one pick.
Oh, that's funny. If you missed this early, these guys made a $500 bet on Bowers to go in the top 10. And the Jets just traded down one spot to 11. And they're going to take Bowers one spot later than normal. So they lost their $500.
What do you think they traded?
They probably gave him like a 4th round pick or a 3rd or something.
Okay.
About one
So
spot.
weird. I don't get it.
They just leaked to everyone that you're taking McCarthy. Like, first of all, no one would have believed you.
Yeah.
But at least leak that and make someone come up and get you. And you're like, no, guys, we're fucking taking a quarterback. I'm dead serious.
Maybe the Vikings wanted Penix. Maybe they wanted Penix.
Jeez.
Dude, this makes no. The Falcons. Did the Falcons? Did they misclick? Did they
Where does
Like a fantasy draft, I clicked the wrong button on Yahoo.
the NFL draft? Where does he go in your super flex rookie drafts?
I mean, I would say at least late second round.
He's probably 109, 110.
He should be one of
No, there's no
he's
way.
gotta be like, I mean,
He's going way after that. You're telling me Jonathan Brooks in a landing spot, trade bets, and people are taking Michael Penix over him? Get the fuck
Yeah,
out
you're
of
right.
here.
No, you're right, Pete.
Nowhere
You're right.
close.
The running backs.
late two. He's going late two.
Yeah. No one's
Maybe-
gonna want a
maybe.
backup quarterback.
You're right. He's going late too. 'Cause that's where Jordan Love went. He went late too.
dude?
Early career.
All of my favorite receivers play for Chicago.
What?
Bears.
Jordan Love was a first-round pick.
Keenan, and we got DJ Moore there too.
They got to trade for AJ Brown, and then you'll be good.
That, I mean, that's right.
So-
He just got paid 84 million guaranteed. Jesus.
This is very good for Caleb.
Oh, guess who took Michael Penix in our ship chasing rookie draft?
I'm gonna guess Ron Stewart. Was it Joe Namath?
That's closing line value, baby. I probably still took him in the late second is the funny part.
5 QBs in the top 10. Have we ever seen that? That's got to be a record, right?
But like,
Anyone
just
seen that
as a
tweet yet?
quarterback, I love this guy.
Yeah, the first. That's
Before we run to the
that's
next
the first.
pick,
No defense.
Albert Breer?
as well. That's also
Also,
Wow.
We win, guys. Offense wins. Pat yourself on the back. IDP
You know-
goes down bad.
welcome to
Take it, the
Abs
pick is
Bears
in. They
also
took
with
McCarthy.
Charles McDonald, Forford.
This is so trying to figure this out, man. Like,
So
why?
I think the Vikings
Wherever
took
you can get up to it.
the Vikings took McCarthy, it sounds like. It's not official yet, but they're trading up. So I think that is really good for Sam Darnold. I think McCarthy can sit for a year and learn and develop, and that he's going into a system with Justin Jefferson. And Jefferson wants a new contract, so Minnesota's going to have a lot of money now to pay him since they get a quarterback who's a rookie. I don't know, Will, what do you think about McCarthy going to the Vikings?
I think it's solid, man. I was all in on Penix, but that was a surprise. I don't know what they're planning on doing. How long was the Kirk Cousins contract?
4 years, 125 million. No, it's more than that. It's like 40 million a year. But
It was I think it was 4 years, 160 with 120 guaranteed or 115 guaranteed or something
so
like
3
that.
years guaranteed.
I like these QBs more, which is weird. Like, I know that's odd. I like JJ and Penix more than like the top two, than like Caleb Williams and.
Well, they're winners. I mean, they were both in the championship game. You like
Exactly. Like,
winners.
what did Caleb ever really do? Like, I'm not sold on him at all. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
His skills are off the charts. His accuracy is off the charts. His mobility is off the charts. There's risks with him for sure. There's a lot of red flags about his attitude. He tends to take off and run too soon. He won't stay in the pocket and let the play develop. There's definitely a lot of red flags with Caleb, but his raw skills are like Mahomes level already at.
Well, no one saw Mahomes. Like, that's the crazy thing. Mahomes
The thing with Mahomes was raw. Mahomes in college was like scoring 50 points a game.
Yeah.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, he was at Tech. He didn't win anything, so he just wasn't on anybody's radar like that. But Kansas City saw something. They traded up for him.
Yeah.
They saw something that nobody else did.
And then Caleb Williams got benched for Rattler, right? That was like early.
Well, no, Caleb was a freshman at Oklahoma, and Rattler was, I think, the junior. He didn't get benched. He just couldn't beat him out.
Right. Anyway, I love McCarthy. I think that's a really good pick. And
I think it's a perfect spot. He's got a lot of receivers. He's got a good team. I like the coaching staff. Like, Minnesota was winning. They were in the playoff hunt last year, even after Cousins and Jefferson got hurt. Like, they have a good coaching staff. They have a good team. I don't think there's not a lot of pressure to like have to play McCarthy now or win now. I think it's for long-term for McCarthy's career. This is the best
he's
place
gonna
he
start.
could land. I think it's not good for him in fantasy this year. I wouldn't take him at all. I don't even know if he'll play this year, but I like it as a fit.
Are you taking that number 2 guy, or is this the fast guy, Daniels, or no?
Jaden Daniels in fantasy?
Yeah.
I would take him before Caleb. To me, he's not a top 12 quarterback, but like if I need like my second quarterback in fantasy, Jaden Daniels is on my list just because of his running ability.
Yeah, exactly. Where's he being drafted?
He's being drafted, his ADP is 127. So divide that by 12. That's like 10th round. He's basically being drafted as like the 12th or 13th quarterback. Caleb goes before him though. He goes around the same spot as like Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins. I don't get like Penix. I mean, Penix is ready to play right now. Penix is good. He's old. He's good. He does not need to sit behind somebody and like be groomed. So like, why would he go to Minnesota? Like, it's just really makes no sense at all. And then
Falcons just fell in love with him, man. They didn't expect it. He probably just performed really well. I mean, that's got it. Like, Isaiah, do you think that's what it is? Like, the Falcons had to see something in him that was unexpected.
It was either that they fell in love with him, like you're saying, at the combine, or they don't trust the injury report from Minnesota for Kirk Cousins.
But
That was
he found him, though. Unless it was like they don't trust it after, right?
maybe it's getting worse. Maybe he had a setback or something in the last month or two.
I would just think, Will, from like a perspective of like that was their biggest need to address in free agency, and he was the best quarterback available in free agency. And so I think their thought process was, okay, well, we just need to sign him, and if he fails, then our backup plan is I guess Michael Penix Jr. now.
You know
But
what's,
I
you know what's
agree with you. I
crazy
don't.
about Atlanta? If you think back to last year's draft, Atlanta going into last year's draft, they had Tyler Algier. He was a rookie running back, had 1,000-yard season. And then they had a number 8 pick. They took Bijan out of nowhere. Like, what the hell is Atlanta doing? You have a good rookie running back. You're drafting Bijan? This is crazy. And they literally did the same thing again this year. Like, and it hasn't worked out at all. They barely. So I'm just shocked, because the other thing with Atlanta, like, it looked like they're trying to win now. You bring in Cousins is 35, like, he's not young. So you're trying to win now. Drake London, Bijan, Pitts. It seemed like they had all the pieces, like, to try to win now. And you add a new piece. Like, Penix is not going to add, if he doesn't anything, it's either only one quarterback can play, right? So he's not adding anything to make this team better to try to win now. It just makes no sense. One of the things I saw this video that it was a scout and ex-GM, I can't remember who it was, but he was like, you have to be so careful not to fall in love with the player, the person. Like, the person can make you feel like they are the greatest, like, hard worker and leader and champion, and they really are, but their skill is only their skill. And maybe that's just it. Maybe that Atlanta just got love bombed by Penix, right? Because I think he's a great guy, a great leader, a great winner. But even like everyone's been saying, best case scenario for Penix is that, like, he's the next Tua. Like, that's not great. That's good. That's decent, but that's not great at all. Penix, no one's been saying that Penix is going to be the next Mahomes or even the Penix lovers are saying, like, he's a winner. He can throw the deep ball. He could be as good as, like, a Tua. So
I don't know who he's like, man. And it's tough because Michigan, where everyone judged him, his shoulder was messed up. He couldn't throw, Like, if you watched him in the regular season, he made some dimes.
Well, and that was also the first game he had real pressure. Like, the Pac-10 is not known for defense. And they always had high scoring games. And, like, he runs into Michigan and it's like, now you're playing a Big Ten style defense, and he was under pressure and did not look so good all of a sudden.
I got into a conversation with a friend of mine, like, the fact QBs you can't hit them like you used to be able to. Does that make a difference with, like, taking, like, a injury prone guy? What do you guys think on that? Like,
I think that's worth accounting into things. I think that's worth.
But you got, like, Burrow, who is injury prone, and he's still injury prone. Like, yeah.
All right, the Jets pick is in. Let's see if they go Bowers or O-line. The smart move would be O-line. You put all your money, all your hope in Rodgers. You got to be able to block for him. They signed Tyron Smith from Dallas. He's like 35 years old. He's not going to be reliable in the O-line at that age. Dallas let him go for a reason.
He was unreliable at the position.
Yeah, you need O-line. I hope they go O-line.
Is this end? What's the deal with this end? I don't know O-line or D-line, like, at all. Like, it looks like he's kind of sliding a little bit.
With
Dallas Turner.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best defensive player in the draft, but there's so many good O-linemen. Like, it's a really deep O-lineman, really good deep receivers. The long shot here, the Jets could go Brian Taylor, the other LSU receiver. Yeah, O-line. Smart move.
It's still crazy that we're 12 picks now into the draft. This is pick 12, and still not a single defensive player has been taken.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. That's what makes this such a great draft. It's all fantasy. It's all offense. Really smart move here. So Fashanu, I watch a lot of Penn State. My dad went to Penn State. We actually went out to a game this year at Penn State. Fashanu was going into this season. He was a top 5 rated pick. And people say he didn't have a great year this year. But he's got the talent. So that's a great pick for the Jets to anchor the O-line. All right, Denver's up. I do not want Denver to take Bowers. that they have no quarterback. That's not gonna be good for Bauer. He would be like the number one receiver there, so it could be good.
Do you think
But,
Penn State could finally win something, man? They're the most interesting team in college football, in my mind. They're always so close.
Penn State, yeah. Yeah, if they could get over the hump. It's tough though, that Michigan and Ohio State, at least now we're gonna have playoffs, so they'll get a chance. Wow, that was fast for Denver. They going Bo Nix? I would love to see Bo Nix here.
I think for Sean, it was perfect for the Jets. Will, to your point earlier, for what Minnesota gave up to get to 10 was their third and fourth round draft pick from this year. So the Jets will be able to address tight end now.
That's a great trade for the Jets. You move back one spot for a third and a fourth.
They
That's
didn't
awesome.
take a guy that the Jets would have never picked. They picked JJ, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Jets were not going to take JJ anyways, but Denver wanted JJ bad, and so Minnesota was scared that Denver could hop over them.
Then maybe that would. Well, Jets. I mean, maybe Aaron Rodgers maybe has 2 or 3 years left, right?
Oh, this could be his last year.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he's going to be good this year. I'm not betting on Rodgers at all.
Yeah. So
He was not good his last year in Green Bay. He was terrible. Like
Yeah.
he looked old then, and now he got hurt, and it's like a whole nother year later. Like things never work out for the Jets, unfortunately.
they might have taken the QB. They might have taken JJ then. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see what Denver does here. Really hoping it's not Brock Bowers.
I think it'll be a quarterback. I don't see why they wouldn't take a quarterback here.
There's
Yeah,
no one
unless they don't like Bo Nix. I mean, but everyone's been saying they do love Bo Nix. He's a Sean Payton style quarterback. He's smart. He's accurate. He could probably start from day one for Denver. It's got to be. It's got to be Bo Nix.
I think that this really sets expectations then for Sean Payton, because he was hired to win, not rebuild. And so if he gets his quarterback, his expectations will go up tremendously.
Well, you think they can win now with Bo Nix? Anytime you take a rookie, I feel like you're rebuilding.
I'm so not.
Well, I just feel like they didn't hire Sean Payton and pay him all that money and give up the draft capital to the Saints to be in rebuild mode.
I mean, it's a good point, but then he should have never got rid of Russ. He should have tried to work with once they got rid of Russ, and they're handcuffed for money. I think next year too, right? I think they still
2
pay
years.
Russ.
They're handcuffed for the next 2 years.
So
It's like $75 million or $80 million. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insanely the worst deal of all time. So you got to rebuild just because of that. You are forced to rebuild. But Peyton should have worked it out with Russ. He shouldn't have let his ego cause that. Yeah, like you said, they didn't bring in Peyton to rebuild.
I am not sold on Bo Nix, man. I did not even think he was a first. Is he like for sure going in the first round?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. Some people love him, and some people,
No.
Oregon.
Well, the Oregon QBs, Herbert ended up okay. Oregon is just such an interesting. They make the QBs look so good there, honestly. Like for real, like they all look good.
Yeah, and he's older, so he's like 25 playing with 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
So that's.
I think Penny Sewell was from Oregon too. So they usually typically have a pretty good O-line as well.
Penix,
There's a lot of good. There's a lot of skill players. Oregon, Troy Franklin, their receiver, is supposed to be a first-round pick. Bucky Irvin, their running back. So Bo Nix was like surrounded by good players.
Yeah.
And they didn't. He couldn't beat Penix. They lost to him twice.
Yep.
So he's not a great winner either.
Wow. When I did my draft board, I put J.C. Latham at 8 for Atlanta. So I'm still astounded that took place. Michael Penix Jr., I did not expect him to be off the board yet.
Yeah, that's just sending shockwaves through the draft. Although it's so out of left field, everything's kind of falling back into place. Like we thought Minnesota would get JJ. We thought Odunze would go to the Bears. Everyone's saying Bowers right here. Denver might trade down. They could, because they don't have a second round pick. They had to give up a lot of their picks to get Sean Payton as their coach. And they gave up a lot of picks the year before to get Russell Wilson. So like they could trade down,
Mm-hmm.
or they could take Bo Nix here.
Where's the Florida State defense? People are talking,
Jared
hyping them
Verse,
up
yeah,
like
Jared
crazy.
Verse is
Well, did a lot of them stay, or like, are they just not first rounders, or what's the vibe on a lot of them? Because they had an unbelievable defense from what everyone was saying. But
Jared Verse is their only defensive player who
went pro.
dropped in the first round. I was really high on him. Man, if he falls to like Tampa, I would be so ecstatic. I don't think that he will, but all right, Denver, come on, refresh here. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, they still haven't.
I don't know why it says the pick is in and then the pick's not
Waking up
in.
in cold sweats and being like, wait, did that happen with
Oh, guess what? In our rookie draft.
I said I wasn't getting drunk tonight, but I'm definitely getting drunk. I'm gonna go buy beer and drink it tonight.
Ron, before we let you go, what should the people check out? Cranking out some YouTube content.
Oh yeah, you can find that over on the Ron Stewart YouTube channel. Pretty much as soon as the draft ends on like Sunday, I'll probably do like a rookie mock draft stream, and I'll have updated landing or rankings with landing spots coming out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. So yeah, check out Ron Stewart.
Big offensive tackle.
Well, yeah, Denver did trade for Zach Wilson, so maybe that's their plan at quarterback if they don't take Bo Nix. Saw this great video. It was like, who'd they take? Bo Nix. It was Bo
They
Nix.
took Bo Nix, yeah.
Woo! All right.
So what does this do for then Oakland? Because, well, I guess Las Vegas, because Las Vegas was anticipated to take Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, exactly. They were sitting back thinking, whoa, maybe we can trade back and get him. Wow, Oakland's got to be like crushed right now.
Well, that's funny because you would, as much as Minnesota did to move up, I guess Atlanta must have been telling everybody they were going somewhere else, and they just, pulled a fast one.
Yeah. Literally every single mock draft had Atlanta taking Dallas Turner. I did not see anyone else going to Atlanta besides Dallas Turner in any mock draft of hundreds of these I probably looked at.
Pat got McAfee on. Pat got Aaron Rodgers on. That's so funny. They love each other. They're always together.
See, I don't think that bodes well for Rodgers' playing career. To me, he's like a celebrity now. Like he was almost going to be vice president, right? Wasn't Kennedy going to pick him? That was the rumor. And so I don't think it's lining up good for the Jets and Rodgers at all. All right, the Raiders went quick here. They got to have a plan B.
I wonder if they traded back now that their quarterback is gone.
Yeah, that would be smart. That would be smart. It seems like they want to play defense and run the ball, and they're going to have to go with what's his name for the year at quarterback. They brought in that guy from the Colts that everybody loves.
This might be too complicated. Like if they trade for Kirk Cousins, do they basically have to pay all of his salary, or like do the Falcons have to pay part of it? How does that work?
It's you can do the deals either way. It's up for the teams to work that out.
It wouldn't shot. I wonder if he could go there.
I've never seen like where you sign a player and then trade him in the same season.
That'd be crazy.
And those kind of things happen in the NBA, so it might be coming into football, but it's never happened before. Just like Isaiah was saying, in the NBA, they'll announce a trade a half hour later.
No.
Because what happens in the NBA is like Atlanta wants a certain player, and they'll tell the Raiders, hey, if you get Bowers, then we'll trade you Penix, and you give us Bowers plus another pick, but we're only going to do the deal if you get Bowers, right? That's how they do it in the NBA. The teams don't do the trades till later because they want to make sure that they get the player that they want, but that's never been a part of football. But trading down would be a good call here, Isaiah. The rate, because they got to be scrambling. They got to be trying to come up with a plan B. I mean, they
So, I
have
mean, if it shocked the whole world. Oh my gosh. Okay.
hours. Yeah, I mean, it's the best value. He's the
Okay.
best player.
Still, though, now all through 13 picks through this draft, we are on pick 14, and not a single defensive player has gone off the board.
Yeah,
And
that's outrageous.
and New Orleans needs an offensive tackle or a quarterback, or they need an offensive player. So, wow, we might not see pick 20 till pick 20 because that's really where the need comes in, at
But
least for these teams.
At this point, you got it best available is by far Dallas Turner. He's slid. I think New Orleans has got to take Dallas Turner here. Byron Murphy's more of like a big run stopper.
Yeah.
And Turner is here. Yeah, the Raiders, the Colts really wanted Bowers. That's got to be heartbreaking for them that the Raiders took him. I wonder if they're going to trade Devontae Adams and just rebuild now. I don't know what the Raiders are doing. They have no quarterback. So why
I disagree with that because Aiden O'Connell had statistically one of the best rookie seasons.
Yeah.
I'll have to pull the exact stat, but in as far as like
Yeah, he did better than you would think, man.
Let's look him up because I don't remember him being good at all.
He did way better
I
than
mean, they didn't win games, right?
he had this weird stat that you were like, Aiden O'Connell did that?
Yeah.
Let's how come I can't even
These stats surprise me sometimes, man. I'm telling you. Just like, wow, like especially in basketball too. Like the Cavs center, Jared Allen or whatever his name is. He's like a superstar. I did not think he was that good, but let's see how Aiden O'Connell did.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's talking about Aiden O'Connell. He's not even getting drafted in 20. I'm in 20. The underdog leagues have 20 rounds, and everyone's taking that other guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was the Colts quarterback last year for the
Ryan?
Raiders.
Matt Ryan.
No, that was the year before.
Oh. The fast guy. Or the fast guy or the guy who came in.
The backup is now the Raiders quarterback. He was on Jacksonville. Am I drawing a blank? Gardner Minshew. Oakland gave Gardner Minshew a pretty big contract for 2 years.
The beard or the mustache guy.
Yeah, so let's see, why can't we get to Aiden O'Connell's stats here? Fantasy football. Draft analysis. Eden. He's not even in here. I don't know. We'll have to look at him on another call.
Yeah, so last year, okay, he graded second among rookie quarterbacks last year. So it was CJ Stroud, then Aiden O'Connell, Will Levis, Tommy DeVito, Jaron Hall, Tyson Bagent, Sean Clifford, Bryce Young, AR, and then DTR were top 10. So Aiden O'Connell was he was just the second best rookie quarterback last year. Really? As far as that's what Pro Football Focus graded him at. 10 games on 300.
What though? Based on like QBR or winning or fantasy sports or like.
Let me see if I can find the context to the.
I don't know why I'm not. Actually, I'll just look him up on Underdog. Well, that doesn't show his game log. I like to see the player's game log. No.
Where did he go to college, Isaiah? I don't know if I know that much about him.
You talking about Aiden O'Connell?
Yeah. Purdue?
I'm not all too sure.
Feels like I think it might have been Purdue.
It says Purdue. Purdue Boilermakers.
Yep. You can ask me anything about the Big Ten. I got that on lock.
It looks like this specific, the rookie one was just based on completion percentage, attempts to completions. Then it looks like they considered rushing yards and then yards per attempt or air yards per attempt were the different categories. And then it looks like on the other just the overall ranking, he ranked right in the middle at number 16 this year.
But that's really just ranking him relevant to the other rookies.
Well, this was over all the quarterbacks last year. He came in at number 16.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking if we see his game log here. So his last 2 games of the year, 2 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. He had this 4 touchdown game. They put up 63 points in this one game, but that was like the game Herbert got hurt, I think, and like the Chargers just quit on their season. That was the game that got their coach fired. That was crazy. 63 points in the game.
I mean, the team speaks really highly of him. I was surprised that anybody was that was projecting someone to take a quarterback for Las Vegas. I thought Aiden O'Connell played really well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard a lot of people saying that. So I'm open-minded, to what it could be. I mean, Gardner Minshew, people are assuming he's the starter. He got a decent, I think he got like 2 years, 20 million. And I thought the Raiders were going to bring in Justin Fields. Obviously, they thought enough of Aiden O'Connell to not trade for Justin Fields, which I think was a mistake. Now they got Bowers, they got Devontae Adams, they have who's that other receiver? Jacoby Myers. If they need a running back, I don't trust Zamir White as your only running back. And they're a defensive team. Antonio Pierce, their new coach, is all about defense.
I gotta go, you guys, but what happened with Justin Fields? Like, what was his deal? What do you guys think happened?
I mean, he hasn't been good if in reality. Like, he hasn't won games. He hasn't been able to throw the ball. And he has a chance in Pittsburgh. I think that's a good opportunity for him if he can win the job. And
I mean, you thought he would go for a first-round pick, right? Or no?
Before it got to where it got, yeah.
Okay.
Teams were talking about offering a late first-round pick for him.
What do you think, Isaiah? I mean, it was
which player?
Fields. It was like a 7th rounder, wasn't it? It was
I think
like,
I think it's just his inconsistent play. Like he seemed like sometimes he could put a really good stretch of games together, and then you would watch him play in another game, and it just looked like he really didn't know what was going on. He didn't really know how to flourish in the offense. But he and DJ Moore had a connection that not a lot of quarterback receivers have. So I was surprised that they traded him away.
They were
such little return, I guess.
7-10 is not bad.
The market dried up on him once it became like once everyone realized the Bears are definitely taking Caleb. There was no leverage anymore to be able to sell him for a good price because the other teams just called your bluff and are like, dude, you're gonna have to trade him. So that dried up the market for him.
7-10. That's what he finished. It's not a terrible record at all.
No.
That's so weird. A team 7-10 has 2 top 10 picks. How often do you hear that?
Well, it's because of the trade they made last year with Carolina.
Yep.
People are quick to call the Bears GM a genius for making that trade. But I always say you got to remember he didn't take CJ Stroud. He should have just drafted CJ Stroud and not did that trade. So I don't think he's the genius everyone thinks he is. He just kind of got lucky, and we'll see how it goes with them and Caleb.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
All right. Great seeing you, Will.
Bye, Will.
Bye.
We're at the halfway point here. Almost. Colts are on the clock. Everyone's been saying the Colts want a receiver. I don't get it. Like, I love Josh Downs. Their rookie from last year. They got Pittman.
Alec Pierce is still on the team.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad. They just drafted him 2 years ago. I don't get it. I've been hearing a lot of Brian Taylor talk here, the other LSU receiver. I don't particularly want a receiver to go here because I'm not sure that Richardson can throw. So it could be bad for receivers to go here. I don't think it's a good landing spot for a receiver. I'd rather see him go to Jacksonville. And
I think we see our first taken or defensive player taken. I think Quentin Mitchell's going.
or Dallas Turner, yeah. I mean, Indy's defense was terrible last year. Let's pop over to some of these parties and hear what people are saying. I don't think anyone's moved on from the Penix trade.
It's tough. It's
Not
it's
given
a
enough that the Falcons would be taking Penix.
They're still talking about it.
So everyone got blindsided.
This is just
This
pure
is
chaos.
this is a fireable offense if anyone in that building had any clue what's going on. But like, it's just obvious they don't, right? Like it's just like Arthur Blank is just like checked out. Like what? Anyways,
I mean, there's just
goes
no.
at pick.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any like
he wasn't even a first round grade.
if they rely on quarterbacks in this draft, maybe don't pay Cousins $100 million guaranteed. Like, there's no way to defend this unless there's something new that popped up with Cousins. Like, it really.
That's what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I mean, there's something to the idea, right? Because we've done this before. We've been like shocked, right? When the Eagles took Hurts, like, what are they doing? That ended up being a really, really good pick. The Jordan Love pick was maybe not that great, but Jordan Love looks good now, and they have him. They end up getting a cost control good quarterback. Like, there's like something to the idea of just make sure you have a
There's
quarterback.
totally something to the idea when it's pick 28 or pick 6.
Right.
There's
That's
nothing to
the
idea when it's
difference.
pick
Right.
8. They're
Yeah,
also
especially in a
making more
draft
money
where
at pick 8. Like pick 8 versus pick 28 is different money.
Also, like, I just don't think the quarterback. No one thought this quarterback was going to go top 15.
Right. There's no explanation. Davis, that's a great point I hadn't thought about yet. But the money is so much different if you get him in 15. Like,
I think
I'm glad they're just as astounded and floored as we are.
$5 million to these two players this year, the way it works out.
The quote, Raheem Morris loved Michael Penix, and the Falcons felt they couldn't wait.
That's not a thing.
It was Morris. It was Morris.
You can't do that. Like, so the other thing is, once you sign Cousins, you're in a win now. Like, that's what you're doing.
These are all the things we said. That's so funny.
Yeah.
You know what? I would love to hear what Belichick's saying right now because he was supposed to get the Atlanta job and they kind of snubbed him. And now they're totally fucking things up, it seems like.
Well, you heard what Robert Kraft did.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. That's a rumor. Is it Kraft, right? Said don't hire Belichick. I
don't think it was a rumor. I think that it came out and was confirmed that he called Arthur Blank 2 different times to.
Well, the conversation took place for sure, as it would with any normal hiring process. You would check the reference, but if Kraft said that you can't trust him, don't hire him, I would be really surprised.
That was what the rumor was that he said that, and then he went out of his way to do it again and reiterate to him like this is not.
What they're saying is Kraft has Belichick blackballed where no one will hire him. It's Jerry Jones is his only hope because he hates Kraft. So we'll see. I just don't see Kraft doing that after everything Belichick did. That would be so wrong, you know.
Well, that documentary that he did, he trashed Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
That was a Robert Kraft production.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet because I don't really want to see a trashing of Belichick. But, you know, to me, that's more like just Kraft wanting to get his credit for the dynasty, that it really was him as much as it was Brady and Belichick. You know, it's a whole nother level to be blackballing somebody from getting a job. The story I heard when they didn't hire Belichick was that they felt Belichick wanted to break the record. He'd be able to do that in 2 years, and then he'd be out. And they wanted someone with long-term vision. And that made sense to me. Like I thought that was a legitimate reason not to hire Belichick, because you at least hope that things are going to work out for the long term, and you have this coach for 5 to 10 years. So I still prefer that version of this story instead of thinking that my idols, like I'm a Pats guy. Like I hate to think that we're all slandering each other now. Like that's just ugly, ugly.
I forget that you're a Pats fan, so yeah, no, that's probably not a fun situation to consume.
Yeah, but it was like, I mean, Boston people are brutal, like when Brady left, half my Pats friends were like, fuck him. And I live in Tampa now for 20 years. So I'm like, he's coming to Tampa. This is a dream. And they were like, you can't cheer for him on his new team. He's a traitor to us. Like, wow. After everything he did for us, come on, guy. And everyone's
and
now.
I don't know. I think a lot of it too was the whole Belichick, Brady, and then Belichick won that side of things. So all the Belichick Pats fans were vindicated, and it's been a rough last 5 years for you guys.
I don't even really buy into there was any animosity between Belichick and Brady. I don't buy into that at all. There was not a good roster. Brady was at the end and wanted to win now. So he was going to a team that was better built to win now, and it worked, and he won now, right? So that's the version of this which keeps everybody nice and getting along in my mind that I'm focus on. It's kind of like when your parents get divorced. It's like, I just want to remember the good times. I don't want to remember the fights at the end.
Wow.
Right, so, Latu here.
Whoa. What? Okay, I guess Dallas Turner also has an injury report out there.
Yeah, Dallas Turner is sliding. I was really high on Jared Verse too of FSU. I was talking to Will about him. I had him rated above Latu. This is definitely a bit of a reach. So Jacksonville, they've been saying that receiver, everyone's been saying Jacksonville wants a receiver. I don't think they need a receiver. They brought in Gabe Davis to replace Ridley. They got Zay Jones. They got
Christian Kirk. He just signed a new contract.
Yeah, they love Kirk. I mean, Kirk was awesome the year before this, and then he was hurt last year. So I don't think they need a receiver. Their defense was awful last year. I think they go defense here, and Quinion Mitchell would make a lot of sense. I've been saying Quinion Mitchell for them all along. Most everyone's saying they go receiver. And the argument for them going receiver is that this is the year, make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. So and that whole GM staff is going to get fired if Trevor Lawrence is a bust. And so you want to give Trevor Lawrence as many weapons as you can in hopes that he can succeed or at least look better this year. But I think he was hurt last year. I like Jacksonville. I've been taking a lot of ETN in my fantasy drafts. I'll take Trevor Lawrence if I need a quarterback late. And
so you think Quinion Mitchell will be there after Seattle picks?
Oh, is Seattle? No, Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's right before them.
Oh, Seattle's on. Seattle is taking that tackle, Murphy. It was my prediction. I forgot we got Seattle up now. I thought it was Jacksonville already. They're next there. Yeah. Seattle, I mean, they drafted a corner last year in the first round. That guy was pretty good.
Yeah, Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah. So I don't see defensive back as a need for them. They need a run stopper from everything I was reading. They were like really hoping that that big tackle, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I think it was Murphy or McMurphy or something. The big run stopper was the guy that they were expected to take. Let's go here. The best available. Quinion, no.
I was gonna say Quinion Mitchell was the Toledo cornerback that everybody's really high on.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
don't, I think you're right. I forgot that they took Devon Witherspoon in the first round last year. I don't think they go
Byron
corner.
Murphy, Byron Murphy's.
Byron Murphy, yes.
That's what they were just hoping he would drop to them was every, and nobody thought Murphy would fall this far. All the defensive players are falling. Yeah, I'm going to take the Alabama kid over Mitchell anytime. I don't particularly know a lot about these defensive players. I love Jared Verse. Dallas Turner, yeah, is definitely the big slider so far.
Well, we were talking about it earlier, Greg, but it's official. This was a record-setting draft with the first 14 picks of being all offensive players. The last time that this happened was in 2021, and only 7 were taken. That was the record.
Wait, we have a trade. The Chargers are up on the clock. It says the Chargers are up, or no? Did I maybe something's off here on this screen. So I didn't see nothing announced. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like Seattle, their pick isn't in yet. They're still picking.
Yeah, 3 minutes ago. No trades yet. I was thinking we might see T. Higgins go, Brandon Ayuk. I guess that still could happen. Well, again, I guess the Jets and Vikings had that minor trade.
Yeah, that is a good point. I forgot that T. Higgins. Do you think maybe Jacksonville?
No, because
now that Rome Odunze's gone, Malik Neighbors is gone. Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be gone anyway. But do you think now that maybe the Bengals trade that to Jacksonville, or
my theory and plan was that they wanted Bowers, that they could trade Higgins, replace him with Bowers. And Bowers is gone now, so I don't know what they're gonna do. They don't have a lot of leverage with Higgins because he's been like demanding a trade. So they're not gonna get much for him, like probably a Diggs type trade, like a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round next year. I feel like the 49ers are playing it so much better with Ayuk, where like they're saying we're not trading him. That's to me, Ayuk's the one who's going to get traded because they're playing it better so that they have more leverage and they can negotiate and they could probably get like a first next year for Ayuk. Higgins, I think the Patriots could make a move to get Higgins. I was looking at who's got money because Higgins wants a long-term deal. The top 2 teams, the Pats had like 50 million and the Redskins had 40 million. So they would be the most likely places to land Higgins. I wasn't like Ayuk to Buffalo still was like, man, if I'm Buffalo and I could get Ayuk, I would even give up my first for that, I think, because it puts you right back in there. But Buffalo has no money left, so I don't know how they would make that work. But
sign and trade.
You can always fudge the cap somehow. You can like just roll the money forward, kick the can forward, they call it, right?
Well, what I would do, I think the best option for Buffalo would be to trade the pick straight up for Brandon Ayuk, but you would need a sign and trade from San Francisco, I think, that to make that deal work so that San Francisco eats the salary because they have the salary cap room, and then you send just a part.
San Fran is tight on money. San Fran's tight on money too. If they had the money to do, first of all, those deals are in the NBA. They don't really do those deals in football. I can tell how much you love the NBA. Like you're bringing NBA strategy into football draft, which makes sense. Like why don't they do this stuff? But the reason those deals work in the NBA is when you sign and trade, the team signing the player is allowed to go over the cap and it doesn't count. So you can pay him more than the other team could pay him. Like a team might only be able to pay a player 100 million, but the team re-signing him can pay him 120. So they re-sign him for the 120. Then the extra 20 doesn't count against the cap, and then they deal him. That's why those deals work in the NBA. The NFL cap is not structured like that, number one. Number two, San Fran has no money. They could do a deal where they pay some of the money. Buffalo, so that's not going to work. But Buffalo, you could, the thing with the NFL is if you give them all the money up front in guaranteed, you're allowed to prorate it over the years. So they could do something like that to get them, or they could cut some more people, or I mean, that's like a wish list for fantasy football, because I've been drafting a lot of Ayuk. I like Ayuk's talent. I think he's
Yeah.
undersized.
You're right, because that makes being a Cowboys fan, like that's what they did with Dak, was they gave him that $60 million signing bonus when he signed to give him these 2 cap hits that we're currently enduring.
Well, and that's what they're trying to do with Dak now. Like when they say because Dak has 1 year left, and they're saying like you could free up more money for this year by turning his salary into a signing bonus, and then it would be prorated over the next 2 years. So that would free up money this year, but that means you're stuck with him for the next 2 years, and Dallas hasn't committed to him. It looks like they're going to let Dak hit the open market next year, which is insane. No one's really ever let a young quarterback in his prime hit the market like that. It's going to be like a bidding war for Dak next year. And every team in that division who needs a quarterback, like the Giants, are gonna they're gonna throw the shit ton at Dak, I bet.
Yeah, well, that's what they were thinking. The Redskins, might hold off this draft, and then next year, especially since he's got those ties with Dan Quinn, that he might make his way over to Washington, because he's got ties in Washington. They have the cap room for him. So
and then Dallas gets nothing for him. They're back to square one. They have no quarterback, right? I mean, unless they're thinking Trey Lance is going to develop somehow.
They do a pretty good job of developing quarterbacks. I mean, look at Mike White. He stepped in for Dak and won 5 games. So they do a pretty decent job at developing their quarterbacks.
You mean Cooper Rush, right? Is that who you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Cooper Rush. Yeah, Mike White was our backup a few years back, but Cooper Rush. Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, Cooper. Yeah, he won some games. I mean, I don't know if he's a starter in the league.
No, but I mean, he won.
I think he was undefeated. Yeah,
he's fought. Well, he lost that the first Philly matchup.
All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, Byron Murphy.
There you go. You called it. Yeah.
Goes to Seattle. Good fit. Good pick. Now we move on to Jacksonville.
Oh, and they did. Jacksonville traded back. It's Minnesota. Minnesota's on the clock right now.
Wow, that's interesting. So to me, that says Jacksonville's not taking a receiver, like I've been saying. But everyone's been wrong about that, except for me. Because if you wanted a receiver, you just take him now. You don't trade back. Brian Taylor's there.
Well, I think by them signing Calvin Ridley last year, it really hurt Zay Jones. His development last year got really hampered because he now had to share targets with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, he was hurt last year too, Zay Jones. He missed a bunch of games, and they brought in Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis, like, he was underutilized in Buffalo. Like, people will complain that he was hot and cold, streaky. I just think it was Allen not going to him. Like, Allen was force feeding Diggs to keep him happy. And
and the numbers prove that, because Diggs has the highest target share in the league over the last 3 years since he's been with Allen. So
I think Gabe Davis is better than people give him credit, and I think Zay Jones is decent, and I think that's what Jacksonville's going with, those three, and they're going to be fine. So I'm happy with how this is going with Jacksonville. So far, the only pick that didn't go the way I wanted was Odunze. I guess I'm not thrilled about Bowers to the Raiders either. On the one hand, he'll be there. I wanted Bowers to go somewhere where he'll be the number 2 target, which he will be, I guess, with the Raiders. If the Raiders would trade Devontae Adams, I would love that.
Yeah, well, and they lost Josh Jacobs too, he does have a bigger target share now there in Las Vegas. So Brock Bowers will see his fair share for sure.
Yeah, he's so good. I don't think it's going to matter, who he plays with. Not sure what Minnesota would be doing here.
Yeah, I'm not. This is kind of an interesting one. I wonder if they really want to get Dallas Turner. I wonder if they really, really want to get Dallas Turner. Because he's slid
Yeah.
so far, and they're just like, you know what? Let's go get him.
He was a consensus top 10 pick, and now
That's
we're
so-
all the way at pick 17.
But that's so weird. Minnesota is in like a rebuilding kind of phase, you would think, like with them letting Kirk Cousins go, and they're trading up in this draft like they're going to want to win the Super Bowl next year. So it's really interesting that they've gone this aggressive.
Well, they
But I
traded
mean,
up to get a quarterback, right? That's not necessarily aggressive. Yeah, Dallas Turner.
yeah, there he goes.
I feel like in their minds, they got like 2 of the top 10 players in the draft, right? So that's pretty good from their point of view. I think Sam Darnold can play, man. I think that he's going to be good. In fantasy, he runs the ball, so that's good. And he you know, he didn't have a lot of weapons with the Jets or with Carolina. He was decent with Carolina. He was winning some games. He was running in touchdowns, which is good for fantasy. And I remember in the offseason when he signed with the 49ers, like there was some talk that he was outplaying Purdy in the preseason. So I think Sam Darnold, I don't think like he can win, but I think he can with Jefferson and Addison. I love Addison. People are down on him. I don't think that's a smart move. And Aaron Jones, like I think that offense is going to be able to score. So the Bengals, this is the spot. The Bengals could get a receiver. If they want to move on from Higgins, this is the spot to draft his replacement. So I think this will really dictate a lot of what they do. The problem is if they draft a receiver here, then they for sure like will get even less trading Higgins because you've played all your cards at this point. Higgins wants out. You drafted his replacement. Why would we give you a first-round pick when you've already kind of told us what you're doing? The Bengals want to win now. They want to make the Super Bowl, so they're hoping Higgins will come around and they can play out this season. Cincinnati fans have been calling for O-linemen here. They want to protect Burrow. We have quite a few Cincy guys that come on the show regularly. There was a guy, Mims. They wanted a guy, let's look at best available here. Yeah, Amarius Mims, this Georgia tackle, was who the Cincinnati fans were telling me they wanted. They were just hoping Mims would fall to them. And now he's like way available. There's a lot of good O-linemen in this draft. Ryan Thomas, that's who he's supposed to be like the last #1 receiver ace in the draft. The rest of these guys, I think, would be more twos. A.D. Mitchell, maybe.
I'm interested to see what the Bengals do here. Do they trade back?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo should be calling people to move up. Buffalo needs a receiver, and it's supposed to be a big drop off after this Brian Thomas. You know, Thomas had more touchdowns than Neighbors, and his combine was like off the charts, amazing. So he's got all the athletic skills.
Man, the Bengals are taking every second they can.
Yeah, let's refresh this here and see.
Well, usually some of these picks they come right in. So Cincinnati must have had something happen that they didn't expect to happen. Maybe that Minnesota trade really bothered them. Maybe they thought they were about to snag Dallas Turner because Jacksonville wanted a receiver.
Yeah, and they can't be expecting that. No one thought that Turner would even be on the board. So they got to have had a game plan coming into the draft that pretty much looked like this. You know, this is pretty much, we're not that far off track from what everyone expected. It's been a little bit out of order, but it's basically been pretty chalky aside from the Penix trade. That's like the shocker.
Yeah. Oh, now they got it in with 2 minutes to go.
Let's see, the Rams are up next. That's another team people are saying the Rams should take a receiver. I don't get it, man. I think Cooper Kupp's gonna try to come back. I'm not drafting Cooper Kupp at all. I'm afraid he's spent. And Puka, I mean, in the playoff games, it looked like Puka's the guy. I mean, Cooper Kupp did nothing. And-
Cooper Kupp looked like a shell of himself last year. I was really disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his advocates will say, like, if you look at his actual stats from last year and prorate it over the course of the year, it puts him as like a top 25 receiver, which would be like a wide receiver 2. And so they're, that you should still draft him because he does have that ceiling of getting back to himself. But I don't see that at all. I'm like, he's 30.
Isn't he like 30 or 31?
Yeah, he's 31. I don't. I mean, his Stafford to me is an injury risk. He's getting old. Kupp's getting old. I'm for sure not taking any Cooper Kupp, and I'm a little bit nervous even taking Puka and relying on Stafford to stay healthy. I do
Well,
not.
I mean, Mike Evans, I mean, what is he, 32? And he's still a really productive.
He's 30. He'll be 31 when the season starts. He's not.
He's not okay. Well, yeah, it's okay. He's younger than I
I mean,
thought.
30, 31 is usually when it falls off. And I was calling Evans to fall off last year because the year before Evans was hurt. Evans was not good the year before 2022, but Evans is coming off a great year at 30. I've taken it.
He had one of his best seasons this last year under Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it was. It was. And, they kept the continuity, bringing back that whole offense. They lost Dave Canales, their offensive coordinator. I think he was the genius that got that team playing great last year. He was the guy that resurrected Geno Smith's career in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got a good track record. I'll be interested to see what he does with Bryce Young. And I'm a little worried Tampa could take a step back. I mean, Baker's, he had some years with Cleveland where he was good and then he would like fall back. Like, especially he just got $100 million deal, right? And actually, I think he only got 2 years. I was really glad he only got 2 years. Guaranteed.
I think it was 3. I think it was 3 100.
3, but
3
only,
for 100.
Only 2 were guaranteed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, I forget about the guaranteed stuff now. That they're really like moving towards that guaranteed contract phase. I don't know if I like it very much.
Well, it used to be nothing was guaranteed. You could cut somebody anytime. Now it's only partially guaranteed, but it can be very misleading. You can see guys that like the Patriots signed Kendra Bourne 3 years, 30 million, which sounds like a lot, but there's only 5 million guaranteed this year. They literally could cut him before the season starts and only be out 5 million for him if he gets hurt again. It can be very misleading.
Yeah, I wish they would do it like basketball where everything is guaranteed,
You don't
contract or contract.
You don't want that, in my opinion. I feel like that's so bad for the NBA. Like, it's not as bad nowadays, but back in the days, you would have like Grant Hill on the books for 4 years, maxed out, and he was hurt and couldn't play for like 4 years. I think that still can happen in the NBA. I don't think it's good to have guaranteed contracts. When you suck, you should get cut. Look at what's happening with Russ. I mean, that's just a mess for Denver. And I feel like Deshaun Watson is the same thing. Like, he does not want to be playing anymore.
Well, they've just got to restructure the way, like they literally, they just redid the collective bargaining agreement. They've got to structure it in a way that's team friendly and player friendly. Because if they're moving in that direction of the NBA, I do not want that for the NFL. The players have way too much power in the NBA.
Yeah.
James Harden is on like his 5th team, and he's acted like a complete baby the entire time. And it's kind of pitiful how the NBA just kind of catered towards it and really didn't say much about it. I think it's kind of cowardly.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you're starting to see T. Higgins is demanding a trade. Yeah, you're starting to see a lot of it.
Jalen Ramsey did that too.
Yep. All All right, Amarius Mims went as expected. Bengals fans were happy to get him.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like that's a good for fantasy. Like that's good for Burrow. Like you want an O-lineman. I'm worried about Burrow and Chase. Like they both get hurt. Like I've been not betting a lot on them, and I'm glad to see them get an O-lineman. Now I'm thinking like this. Maybe this is their year. They're both so good, so good. I'm tempted to just like take them both and just hope they get hot in your fantasy playoffs. Just like ride them. 2 years ago, that's what happened. Jamar Chase had like a 50-point game in the fantasy playoffs, and nobody was beating him that week. It'd be good for Chase's stats if Higgins is gone.
Well, yeah, his target share will go up tremendously.
Yeah. So
Yeah, especially Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's one of the top pass catching running backs in the league too. So there's that target share gone too.
Yeah, Mixon's gone. Yep, I like Mixon on Houston. Mixon, everyone's like down on him. Like even last year, people were like, he's not good. He's old. I'm like, he's 26. Last year he was 25. Like he's still
Joe Mixon's a really good running back. I don't know why that narrative is out there about him, but Joe Mixon is a really good running back. Like if you just need a solid starter who can carry the rock for you 5 yards every time he puts it in his hands, that's Joe Mixon.
Yeah, his stats were top 5 last year. Like he gets a really bad rap. And it was probably like because Burrow in the passing game is so good that he wasn't facing 8-man boxes and stuff. But I don't care. Like I just want fantasy stats. And I think it's going to be even better in Houston, right?
I was going to say he's certainly not getting 8-man boxes in Houston.
Exactly. I love Mixon. Like I've been taking a lot of Joe Mixon in my underdogs. This is my my team breakdown here. Like you can see, I bet on Brooks a lot. Brooks, ETN, a lot of the rookies, and then Mixon is my top guy. I have him on 25% of my teams on underdog already. To me, Mixon's to me is like the end of the good running backs. I like to get him as my second running back, especially when they signed him to the extension. I'm like, they're committing to him like for 3 more years. Like that is such a good sign. Like when they just traded for him and he had 1 year left in his deal. And I was like, oh, maybe they'll draft a rookie to replace him. Like they're not drafting a rookie if they just re-signed to Mixon for 3 years. So yeah, I'm all in on Mixon.
Well, I think the Houston offense this year will be really fun to watch. I don't know how much they'll put him in the slot, but I think Tank Dell should move to more of a slot type position because he's small enough to create that space there in the secondary. But Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins on the outside, you can't stack a box on Joe Mixon or CJ Stroud will just cut you up all day long.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how teams defend against the Texans because you can't stack the box, you can't go man. So what do? You definitely don't play zone coverage against CJ Stroud. So I don't know what Houston kind of cheated this offseason, if you ask me. Because the steal they got for Stephon Diggs, and if he has an attitude problem, they can just cut him at the end of the year, and there's no cap hit, there's nothing like that. So Houston's front office did a really incredible job this offseason of putting together a team that is kind of really unbeatable, at least on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're loaded for fantasy and in real life. And yeah, I was, when they traded for Diggs, he had 3 years left on that. He had signed a 4-year, $100 million deal. But when they renegotiated the deal, like you said, that's brilliant because now Diggs is like incentivized. He's got to play good.
Mm-hmm.
And because Diggs is turning 30. When they first made the trade, I was a little worried. He's 30. Maybe he's bringing in a bad attitude. But now that he's betting on himself, to me, like this is about like Diggs is going to be highly motivated to play his best because he's going to hit the open market. He's going to, if he has a great year this year with Stroud and hits the open market next year, Houston's not bringing him back. So on the one hand, Houston traded a second round pick and might only have Diggs for 1 year. So that's kind of the downside to it, but they are incentivizing him. Where I think Diggs is going to be great. Well, a lot of people are fading Diggs with the trade. They're saying, oh, now that he's in Houston, his stats are going to go down. I would drop Diggs to a 3rd round pick. I look at it the other way. I think his stats are going to go up. He's more motivated now. And Buffalo was going to the run last year. That's why Diggs was awesome the first half of last year. I had a lot of Diggs last year. He was like my go-to 1st round fantasy pick, and it killed me down the stretch. They started running the ball more when they changed offensive coordinators. So I think Diggs is still going to be really good, even though I normally don't like 30-year-old receivers. Here comes my boy Jared Verse.
You called it.
I was high on him. I didn't think the Rams would. I didn't pick him to the Rams, but I was high on Verse. A lot of people had him sliding further. I mean, I live in Florida, so I watch FSU, and he was awesome 2022. Last year, he didn't do as much and kind of fell. Like coming out of 2022, they were saying Verse was like a top 3 pick. Like he was supposed to be like the bomb. And I kind of remember all that and think that that's who he really is. All right, so the Steelers are up. Another team that they've been predicting wide receiver. They do need a second receiver. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Well, did they cut Deontay Johnson?
They traded Deontay Johnson to Carolina.
They traded him
for like a 5th or 6th round pick. They didn't get much.
Okay. They do need another receiver.
They got Pickens. I love Pickens. I think Pickens, I could see Justin Fields and Pickens being like a DJ Moore and Pickens. Like, I think that could really work. So I like Pickens. I've drafted quite a lot of Pickens. My biggest concern with Pittsburgh is they brought in Arthur Smith. And that guy has made my life miserable with how he treats star players in Atlanta. If he pulls that shit again in Pittsburgh, I'm going to hate him, and he's a run guy, right? He was Derrick Henry's coach in Tennessee.
Yep.
He's a run guy. So that doesn't bode well. I don't see him wanting a receiver. Like he's a run guy, but they need a receiver. But this is also a really deep class for receiver. So I think they can maybe get their receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round.
I like a lineman here. They need a center. I also think, to your point, like I think they're gonna do a really good job of running the ball with Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. It's gonna be really difficult, I think, for a second receiver to really flourish. But I think having that second option available to Justin Fields gives him that kind of error for a mistake, or maybe not when he doesn't tuck and run when he should. Now he's got a better second option to throw the ball to and to bail him out. He didn't really have that in Chicago, and I think we'll start to see maybe some of his development if they take a receiver here, or if they can get a second receiver for him.
Yeah. This Graham Barton is the top-rated center. A lot of mock drafts have him going to Pittsburgh. That's what you called. So I'm thinking that's the pick that makes more sense for a team that wants to run the ball. The Steelers have a great history of developing receivers. Like Antonio Brown was a late pick. I can't even remember some of the guys before that, but they've had a lot of receivers like come out of nowhere and blow up. So I don't think they are taking a receiver here. And it's starting to look like Buffalo was like supposedly in love with Brian Thomas or A.D. Mitchell. They're all falling. Like I would be surprised if Buffalo doesn't start to trade up. Miami's not going to trade with them.
The teams I thought would trade up that didn't, and I'm surprised, were Miami, Green Bay, Buffalo, and Detroit. Those were the teams I thought would really get aggressive, make a move, kind of like the way Minnesota is doing. And I'm just surprised there weren't more. Minnesota was the only 2 trades in the draft. They've had both trades in the 1st round so far.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. What did you think Miami might do?
Well, I really thought Miami, they needed either somebody really good on the edge or another offensive lineman to kind of help out Tua.
and maybe their running game. That what we saw in Denver that 1 week, I think is what is replicable for them with the personnel that they have on the field. But they need help on the line. I forget the Laramie Tunsil is who they traded away
on the D line or the O line.
On the O line.
Miami needs O line. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of good O linemen though, still in this draft. Let's just pull this up and see if we can get an eye. I'll tell you the fantasy footballer in me wants Miami to take Xavier Worthy. I'm like, Mitchell loves speed, man. This could be like the next Tyreek if he gets in there with them.
Well, there are a lot of players in this draft who have really good comps to current players, and I'm excited. This, I mean, like we spoke about earlier, this is going to be one of the best drafts we've ever had. I mean, it's playing out that way so far. We've had 5 quarterbacks go in the first round, 14 offensive picks, maybe more now that we're hitting these later numbers. But
yeah, I'll tell you, if the receivers don't start to go soon, it's going to push them all to day 2. It's like if there's 5 guys on the board you like, when Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, all those teams need another receiver. But if there's 5 guys, like, why would I just wait to round 2 to get 5 guys? But if they start going now, then I feel like they're going to go at the end of the first. If they don't go in the next 2 picks, if there's not a receiver going, then I think that Kansas City and even Buffalo might just wait it out to the second round. It'd be more fun tonight if we start getting a bunch of receivers going. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, I'm a little over these edge and tackle positions for the last 7 picks.
Yeah, I don't know much about Graham Barton, the center from Duke. I mean, Duke's not known for its football. He is rated as the best center, and that's what Pittsburgh needs here. I heard Philly was interested in him as a replacement for Kelsey, who retired.
Be a good one. Graham Barton, had good combine showing as well. He can move people around pretty well.
Let's pop into one of these parties and see what people are saying.
I hate that college doesn't really track lineman
stats.
stats.
With the Jordan Love pick that proved to be an issue was they went to the NFC Championship that next year and they just didn't have enough. And everyone was like, man, what if they would have used that first round pick on another impact player to help them win the NFC Championship that season?
I'm talking about the Packers.
Are the favorites to win the NFC South right now. They're probably going to host a playoff game. If everyone goes,
if you want to be kind,
Oh no, they're talking about Atlanta. Still
behind the scenes, Rodgers was just like difficult and could leave time, right?
But my thing is like the Falcons
signed Cousins 3 months ago.
Yeah, they're still talking about.
Give yourself another impact player for this window.
They're still talking about the Penix trade.
You just gave up that opportunity.
Maybe we're behind on the show. I can't imagine they're still talking about it. It's that, I guess it's the main thing to be talking about. Otherwise, it's been pretty chalky.
Special playoff edition of the ship.
Superstar in college and then hope you become a superstar in the NFL if I'm trying to be right more often than wrong.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, Thomas is kind of a tricky prospect, and now with this,
He's super tricky.
whole labrum thing, like in this fall, like it definitely. He's gonna be very boom bust. But I mean, he did have. I know it wasn't like a superstar, but as a true junior, he had 1,177 yards, 17 touchdowns, 33% dominator rating. Like that's a pretty good season. And he was playing great players.
My only pushback with it run is it's all go ahead, Jake.
No, I was going to say what you were going to say, and frankly, I still probably have it from you, so feel free to cut. It's like, it's the issue was like
I was more in on Thomas when, like, just watching as he kind of came across this year. And he had a really strong, like, recruiting profile at high school, like Adam Staff's played. And I just kind of assumed in my memory that he barely played year 2, and that was why he didn't produce. And then going through and finding out that wasn't really the case, that he actually ran over 250 routes in year 2, that he was super inefficient. 1.36 yards per route run in year 2 versus 2.61.
Steelers took a guard.
You know, effectively double. And like Ben has pointed out, like it's all coming really from post-target efficiency, not really coming from earning volume more per route. So I guess I would add a little bit more confidence in, like, this is a guy who just fundamentally adds efficiency after the catch or after the target. If he was a guy who had been able to do that in year 2, or if he was a guy who just didn't have a chance to play and then he bursts onto the scene, he's super efficient, you can see him grow. But it seems a little bit more like, you know, he was the Miami Heat, where it's like they're not shooting any threes in game 1. Game 2, they shoot 54% of the threes. Now we're drafting them off the 54% breakout, and like it makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Caleb Martin, he's fucking Caleb Martin.
We got a baseball comp from Bymore. We got a basketball one from Sanders. We got
a one from Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for the roller derby comp next.
It is tough because you know that final season was pretty impressive, and it's a true junior season. I get what you're saying. 13.9 ADOT, so he's winning downfield. Although there are some concerns about his separation downfield as well. So I don't know. He definitely, it's kind of DK Metcalfy. That's sort of what you're basically betting that he's DK Metcalf. And the further he falls,
he's not 240 of solid muscle, and you know DK Metcalf is a mutant of all mutants.
Right.
But he's got to have like a high pass attempts and like a high efficiency offense, I think, because he needs a quarterback who's not a loser that will actually throw down the field.
For sure.
Yes.
And he needs, and like he's probably not earning more than like 18 to 22% of targets in most areas. So he needs there to be 36 attempts or 40 attempts, right? Like if he's in a 30 attempt offense, then it's just not happening, right?
No, but I guess I would push back a little bit on the idea of we know who he is as a target earner because he was playing alongside Malik Neighbors. You know, that's fucking hard.
It is, but it's
very efficient on his routes as well.
Kind of.
He was, but he was still at like 20%. When I look at the targets per run stuff in college, when there's 2 good target earners, a lot of times the second guy is at like 25%. I wrote this about Jacob Cowing today, who I love out of Arizona. He's playing with the guy Ted Troya McMillan, who's still in college, but he's going to be one of the top receiving prospects going forward, like next year.
He's a star
last year. He's
star.
Incredible. And while playing with him, Cowing was still like 25% targets per run. Thomas was down at like 20%, and that's a big gap.
A slot though. Cowing's like
it's
get
different.
open underneath slot.
I think,
like,
but like when you look at other teams where there's 2 good players, it's like they're both at 25 plus. Like they're not, one's not at 20%.
I know, but Thomas is a deep there with a 14 ADOT.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, but
that's fair.
Yeah, it's like how do you become an NFL superstar if in college can he change in the NFL? Sure, it's technically possible. It's hard for a football player to completely change who they are as a football player.
He won't. That's why you're betting he's
level.
Metcalf. He's mostly doing that, but he's getting a little more.
He had the Heisman winning most mobile quarterback in college football last year, which helped.
So the Steelers go O-line, it looks like. Yeah, Troy Fontenot.
Yeah, they went with a guard instead of a center. Well,
Yeah,
Philly will be happy about that then.
Right, that's true. And makes sense, you know, for Arthur Smith team that wants to run the ball. Seems consistent with that game plan. I'm kind of never thought I would say this, but I'm coming back around to Najee Harris. I feel like Smith likes the big back. He loved Tyler Algier in Atlanta. And so I might be looking at Najee Harris again. You know, and Harris had a great rookie year when Big Ben was still quarterbacking. And then as Kenny Pickett's come in and been awful these last 2 years, he doesn't throw to the backs at all. Then Harris's numbers have gone way down. Jaylen Warren is the big wild card in Pittsburgh. I think he's really explosive and, could be a true timeshare which is not good for either one of them is from fantasy perspective. All right.
Yeah, I don't like the Steelers backfield at all from a fantasy perspective. Najee Harris is always inconsistent, but them getting split touches, kind of like the way Arthur Smith did it with Bijan and Tyler Algier, I didn't really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's just been inefficient. I mean, Najee Harris has been under 4 yards per carry the last 2 years. He just is not, that's not even, start worthy production.
To be fair to him, he's had Kenny Pickett, 2 years now? So, it's really hard when they're stacking the box every play because they know it's not going over their heads. They're not going to be threatened by Kenny Pickett dicing them up on the field. So I think that will help some by getting an extra layer at quarterback like Justin Fields who can run the ball. That'll just kind of help with just some extra elements on the field. Give Najee Harris maybe a little bit more room to run. But I just don't think he's had a great scenario to run the ball these last couple of years.
Well, I think the best case for Najee would be Russell Wilson as the quarterback, that you're getting improved efficiency. If it's Fields in there, then that I think would cut into the running game for Najee. Now you're splitting those carries 3 ways instead of 2 ways. It would just get worse with Fields in there. I think it's going to be Russ the first half of the season. The way the Bears structured that trade was if Fields plays 51% of the time, then the draft pick moves up, I think, to a 4th. If he plays under 51% of the time, it's a 6th. So they've got every incentive to stick with Russ for the first half of the year, in my opinion. Cal, what's up?
Is it me or do the Steelers have 8 quarterbacks? I'm just saying, I'm like, how many quarterbacks do you need?
They got rid of everybody except for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. They're starting fresh with these 2. Which, I didn't hear of Mason Rudolph signing anywhere. I wonder what happened with that.
He was their best quarterback as far as over the last couple of years. Whatever Mason Rudolph was playing, he was their best quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he got them to the playoffs. He led down the stretch. He was the guy winning games. He was the guy that George Pickens had all his big games with. I was kind of surprised that they were so out on bringing Mason Rudolph back.
They cut him. Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal with the Titans.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, the Titans were all in on Levis. All right, so the Dolphins took Chop Robinson, another Penn State guy. Chop was kind of mocked to late first, early second, so it's a little bit of a reach. He did have the fastest 40-yard time of an edge rusher ever at the combine, so he's got the athleticism. I watched a lot on him because my dad goes to Penn State. We watch Penn State a lot. I didn't feel he was really that dominant. It's not like you were hearing his name every game. The scouting report says he has really short arms, which is bad for a defensive end. But he's got speed. And
he's really fast, and that really matches Miami's play style on defense.
Yeah, good point. Miami's all about speed across the board. So, and it's definitely a need for them. Yeah, it's definitely a need for them. I wonder,
Really
I
bad.
haven't seen, did Tua get a new deal yet, or is that still up in the air, I think, right?
He has not worked a new deal yet, to my knowledge.
That makes me a little nervous there. Like all these deals, I mean, it's just part of the game that these deals are not there, but I do not draft players that hold out. That just seems to be such bad karma. Josh Jacobs last year was a case in point. He held out the whole preseason and then kind of came in out of shape and had a down year. It's been like that in my 30 years of playing fantasy football. I just do not like players that hold out. So it's making me nervous, these guys without contracts, the Tuas, the Ayuks. I mean, I guess all these guys technically have 1 year left on their deal, and now they all want new deals before their deal is even up.
Well, if it makes me feel any better, Tua's attitude. I was just reading his update on his contract talks. It looks like Miami did pick up his 5th-year option. But it says here he's not going to skip OTAs or anything like that. And he's going to let his agent handle all the contract disputes, and he's going to play football. So
Yeah. So the 5th-year option would mean that he, this would be it. So he's on a 1-year deal basically, right? He wants a new 4 or 5-year deal so that he's got his 100 million guaranteed. He's set for life if he gets this next contract. He wants it now, right? He doesn't want to risk getting injured. He's had those concussion problems. He could take a step back. And
he's really accurate. So if he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah. I in real life I like Tua for the Dolphins, and I root for him. I think he's a good story, like his hero story in college, how he came in at halftime in the national championship game. That's like an all-time.
Where were you when Jalen Hurts got benched and Tua came in and won the national championship?
Yeah, that's like the ballsiest call of all time. And but in fantasy, I don't like Tua. This past year, Tua led the league in yards and still wasn't top 12 in fantasy because he doesn't run at all. And so I don't like Tua in fantasy. And in best ball, you have to stack your quarterbacks and receivers. Basically, you can't progress to the finals if you don't. And I don't like taking Tua. So that means I don't take Tyreek or Waddle in fantasy either, which bums me out because Tyreek, I think, is the most explosive player, but he's getting old too. I mean, Tyreek turns 30 this year. He said the quote I heard was he's got 2 years left that he wants to play, and then he wants to go do porn.
Who?
No, Tyreek.
Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, that
I mean, a dream's a dream.
He's turning 30 this year, which is I generally don't. If I have a choice between drafting a receiver who's turning 30, I for sure won't take a running back, even at 29, but I will avoid the 30-year-old if I can. And it saved me so many times. Like last year with Cooper Kupp, it saved me. Sometimes you miss on guys by doing that, like Evans last year, but overall it saved me from ever having guys that get injured by having like this rule against 30-year-olds. And Tyreek is turning 30 this year. Devontae Adams will be 31. Really avoiding him. He's still going in the second round. Devontae. Tyreek is going top 3 in fantasy football. I'm more on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's young. He's with a good offense. I'd rather have him. Chase, CeeDee Lamb. I love CD, but all this contract problems in Dallas is making me nervous.
You gotta love the Cowboys' approach to contract negotiations. Let's just wait till everyone else gets paid at the position, and then we'll pay our guy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll drive up the price. They're just screwing themselves by waiting.
And the Cowboys wonder why Dak was so expensive. Well, they waited till Carson Wentz was signed. I forget the other Tyler Murray. I don't think he was in that class, but just still, like they waited so long to sign Dak Prescott, and it took forever. Jared Goff.
I mean, I get it. At the time, I wasn't sold on re-signing Dak, so I get it. Kind of at the time, I'd rather you not make a mistake. But that was 4 years ago. Like now, Dak is what he is. Like they're winning with Dak. It's not Dak's fault that they are not advancing in the playoffs, in my opinion. He's putting up good fantasy numbers. He's been productive. Like you don't throw away a player of that caliber and rebuild and go back to nothing. Like you have nothing in the wings that's close to him. Once you have somebody, you got to ride it. You got to make your shot. You don't get that many shots. That's Dak.
It's tough to judge the Cowboys because Jerry Jones doesn't do things traditionally. He's not a traditional owner. He doesn't, he doesn't even have a GM. So it's really hard to gauge what the Cowboys are doing and where they are with things, because you would think a normal organization doing something like this, they're rebuilding. Like they're going to wait till these guys' contracts expire and they're done. They're going to move on, say thank you, appreciate your service, and we're drafting somebody else. But with the Cowboys, they sign people so late that it's almost, you don't really know if they're going to cut Dak or not. You don't really know if they're going to let him hit the open market because they're just so, I think they're indecisive. I don't think Jerry Jones knows how to be a GM in that capacity. He's so emotionally tied to the team that his decision making is impacted by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about just, sorry.
Go ahead, Cal.
I said, how about we just have the Jones family not own any part of the Cowboys anymore?
They pretty much own half of North Texas now, Callie. They aren't going.
I know. I have a family member that worked in Dallas for some time, and when I went there for the first time, I was like, "Oh, this family runs this town. Run."
Yeah, they're the only team where it's like I gotta see a press conference from the owner after every game. Like, why?
Yeah. And they got pictures in restaurants of the owner, then Jerry Jones, and I'm just like, what?
And it's not like it's produced results. I mean, they've been 20 years now without a Super Bowl, and all his meddling has not really worked out. Like,
and Jerry's problem is that he takes credit for the first 3 Super Bowls, and they weren't. That was not his credit to take. And so now for the last 27 years, he's worn that on his shoulder. Like, oh, I have 3 Super Bowls. Look what I can do, and he has nothing to show for it since then.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Johnson was picking those players and building that team. And
I don't know. Has Jerry Jones even played a game of football?
He played at Arkansas, yeah, in college, right?
He did, yeah.
And I know I'm just because sometimes I want to just be like, how about you bring him out on the field? Like everything he's trying to do, he wants to be the coach, he wants to be the manager, he wants to be the GM, he wants to be the
All right, so the Eagles go defense. I think that's
they went Quentin Mitchell. I don't hate the pick. They were just hurting so bad last year in their secondary. So I understand it, but I really think the center there from Penn State was the better pick.
Yeah, maybe they already have a center in the wings to replace. I don't follow Philly that closely. I don't love Quentin Mitchell. I mean, he was a combine, was amazing, but he's played at Toledo. I would rather go Terrion Arnold or Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like both of those guys. I'd always rather take somebody from Alabama or a big program than Toledo. Except
he played really well at the Senior Bowl, so I think that boosted his draft capital quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if a player, has been a household name all year, then I'm more open to a small school, but Quentin Mitchell's not. I mean, granted, at his position, it's not it's not there. I mean, it's not a reach. Everybody had him going mid-first round. And if anything, he's slid a little bit. So it's still a good pick for Philly. Philly generally drafts pretty well. Right, they almost always take Georgia players and tend to draft pretty well. So they probably know what they're doing with that pick. Jacksonville's back on the clock here. I'm hoping they go Terrion Arnold. They need defense. Their defense was terrible down the stretch. I do not want Jacksonville to take a receiver here. I don't think it would be nice to start the receiver run, but I don't think that is good for my fantasy players. I've got quite a bit of Jacksonville receivers already. Gabe Davis, 30%. That's a high ownership stake in him. I'm looking for our other.
I don't know too much about Jacksonville, but their draft thing here. It says they're really hurting on defense. They need a cornerback, tackle, edge, like edge rusher. They need everything on defense. So
Yeah, exactly. Their defense was just terrible across the board. They have one player. I mean, they have the Georgia guy who was the #1 overall pick 2 years ago. The year after.
Josh Allen.
Oh no, they have him too. Actually, I forgot about him. No, they have a tackle who was the #1 overall pick the year. Was it the year before or the year after Trevor? They had the #1 pick 2 years in a row. I can't remember the guy's name. He hasn't been that impactful, but he is a player. And they have Josh Allen. They just gave him a long-term contract. So secondary seems like the way to go here. They just let up a lot of points last year. I'm really hoping Trevor Lawrence can turn it around. I think he was hurt last year. He seemed to be developing in his second year. I just throw out his whole rookie year. That was a disaster with Urban Meyer coaching. The last year was definitely a step back. And now that division has gotten a lot tougher. Houston, oh, they went receiver. Wow. That's what everybody said they were going to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. I guess it's good for Trevor Lawrence, right? You get him another weapon. You know, you could look at it the case that the rising tides is going to bring everybody up. I want to hear some takes from our show on this. Let's pop over here and see what these guys are saying.
Helps you when you're a downfield guy at earning targets.
Yeah, my God, it's huge.
Thomas is
Every
legit.
single play is just gonna be go route, spacing. Like that's just.
And he's gonna hit out routes. Lawrence loves his little slot out routes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They were called slot outs on Madden. Like we're running that. Bo Nix world now.
I understand his skill set maybe doesn't translate enough. And I'm not saying he's Breeze, but obviously Breeze was better than that pick. And I think coming out, there was maybe some concern that Breeze had the physical tools. He was too short for his era. Like he's one of the first shorter quarterbacks to have a long career. So I mean, I think like if you're there at 12, like this is such a perfect fit for what we do. You're Sean Payton, like this is the quarterback you have to have. A lot of us take him, I was talking about like this was like from an analyst perspective, this was the fit for what Sean Payton always wanted offensively. This is the quarterback you have to have. You're saying well, like it's a fucking quarterback, right? Like it's not the Falcons fit. Like you don't have a quarterback, and it's because you have dead money, right? For the Russell Wilson thing, so you need a rookie quarterback for some respects. You need a cheap quarterback. So
I want to hear what they say about the Jacksonville pick.
If they traded back with Minnesota, like there's any world where they don't 11. Yeah, any world where they can't just like have for free from Minnesota, right? Like what was that? Yeah, it's crazy. No, the other thing makes no sense. The only thing that has made any sense whatsoever, the most logical explanation we've heard is your crazy fucking theory that they're going to Kirk Cousins contract. That's the only logical thing. Behind the scenes, Kirk Cousins contract going to get voided. That might logically make sense. I can follow the logic. That's the only thing.
Right, Thomas to the Jags official.
Nice. That's awesome.
Wow.
Good
That's
for Trevor. Good for Trevor. Hey.
Wow.
Oh no, wait, no,
Not
Ryan.
DeAndre Johnson. It was 19.
We already hit. Yeah, we already hit.
We already hit. We're
already
fading
did
80
Good,
now.
Yeah, I didn't want to celebrate your losses. I think Trevor Lawrence just needs a guy like this so badly. Like he's been working with these like either out of position or lost like boundary wide receivers. Like get him some with some juice. This is great.
Well, and they don't even do anything creative with their offense, so you need someone who can win on the outside. Like you need someone to just go beat people down the sideline.
I love it. In hindsight, though, this is really hilarious that they paid Gabe Davis this offseason.
I was just gonna
wrap it a better Well, but Gabe Davis is better version to Kirk Cousins for Gabe Davis.
We can wax poetic, but yeah, as great as it is for Trevor, all he did was just add Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas on the outside, who neither of them can ever bust it open.
Okay, but Gabe Davis is the better Zay Jones. So Brian Thomas is the better Gabe Davis. Everybody moves down around.
Where's Zay
What
Jones?
do you need for Parker Washington?
R.I.P.
Parker plays in the slot. Parker Washington is Christian Kirk, the rep handcuff.
Christian Kirk is going to have
Jeremy
a
Schwab has
30%
it
target
right.
share.
30% target share for Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I'm moving.
Yes.
By the way,
Kirk is a
I'm not gonna.
He's a smash.
I'm just gonna say I have Christian Kirk 28% exposure right now.
Yeah,
so
no, I have a
I'm on
shitload
board
of
with Christian Kirk.
I'm very into it.
Yeah.
Now the
This is
Jags
great.
have Gabe Davis and fancy Gabe Davis. My favorite quote.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
This is sneaky so good for Kirk Ingram, though.
It's
wow.
amazing for them. Because
Oh my God.
See, that's interesting. They're saying it's good for Kirk. I guess Thomas will stretch the field, is what they're saying.
Huge.
Thomas is
Every
legit.
single play is just gonna be go route, spacing. Like that's.
And he's gonna hit out routes. Lawrence loves his little slot out routes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Ever called slot outs on Madden? Like we're running that.
He's gonna get at least a
I
30
bet-
target share. Oh
I
my
bet the Cowboys take a cornerback here.
I got Ingram too. I wasn't that into him this year. I'm drafting him.
I don't like it, but I think it's what we do.
Oh, Dallas is on the clock. Nice.
Get ready to learn 20 picks behind Evan Ingram, but
And I will take Brian Thomas in best ball in the landing spot like this, in an offense that I expect the Jag to bounce back. I think Doug Peterson is a coach that knows what he's doing. I think Trevor Lawrence can bounce back. Last year, I think the expectations for the Jags were a little high. They went low, and now people are too low on them. They're going to come back. Like there's some ebbs and flows in the NFL. We know that. They're better
he
than
needs
how
to
they
retire
played.
Press Taylor. He needs to take play calling back from Press Taylor. Press Taylor also used to be a Colts play caller. He's horrific, and like he takes over play calling duties last year for Jacksonville. I thought their creativity went off a cliff. The hope is Doug is taking back the controls this year would be, I think, optimistic for Jacksonville.
What do you think Press has on Doug Peterson? He's got incriminating photos. He follows him everywhere he goes. He takes over play calling everywhere he goes. It's like, well, what the fuck does this guy have on Doug Peterson? I don't know. Hey, where's Brian Thomas go? Where's Brian Thomas go? Not in Jacob's bullshit dynasty drafts, in underdog drafts.
No,
In underdog?
7th round, right around Christian Watson.
No,
Well, the problem is
that's
people
totally
get-
for where.
He was going to the Knicks, so I don't think he falls.
The anchor to where he was going, he should go there. I agree with Jacob. That's where he should go.
He's gonna be a 5-6 turn back.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
He's gonna go. He's gonna go the same
gonna go
spot
in
he
the
was
fifth.
going.
He's gonna go in the fifth.
So he's gonna go where JSN.
I'm gonna reluctantly
None of
take
that works.
5%, but I'm gonna stay below.
I'm probably gonna be below as well, but I'm glad I have a. I don't think I went all in.
5th round, Brian Thomas Jr.
That's where he's. That was where
still
he was going.
really rich.
What a landing spot. I'm not saying
Still
that
rich.
That's
I
the
never
thing.
drafted him there, but it's.
I have
That's
19%
just reality.
Brian Thomas, so this is great for me. And
Wow,
I'm
you
sure
have
we'll play,
13%.
I thought he's the last of a tier in terms of the upside at the position.
Fair.
Really? Okay.
If you feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get them in the sixth, kind of the early to mid.
The real
Are
question
you
is,
gonna
does
take
he
Gabe?
flip Christian Kirk? Does Christian Kirk?
I wasn't
fall
taking
behind
any
him?
game. I thought
God,
Gabe was.
Christian Kirk should be like a 3-4 turn pick. Like
Dude, honestly, that's where he comes out for me. Like,
Yes.
Kirk should be like a.
He's what I want Deontay Johnson to be.
I have 20% Kirk, so I was higher on.
You've got to be kidding me.
Maybe Deontay Johnson will be Bryce Young's Christian Kirk. 2nd year, disappointing 1st overall pick, you know?
Maybe. Stop it. Dude, I'm excited to analyze the Bills. I like when things fall into a place where I feel like I can analyze it easily. Like Brian Thomas doesn't earn targets and is a vertical efficient threat. Gabe Davis doesn't earn targets and is a vertical efficient threat. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are going to be on Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. Yeah.
What did Dallas do? Did they trade down?
Kirk, no matter
They
what.
traded out of the 1st round.
Easy. But here's the other
They
thing.
traded out of the 1st round.
Right? When we first.
I don't see a trade down right now. Yeah, the Lions still have their pick. They traded out of the 1st round.
One landing spots are gonna be all excited to get them, but we know what is actually gonna happen. Where the ADP value is actually gonna be. It's on the motherfucking projectable.
That's actually pretty good. That means they'll be taking,
Yeah, so what you're doing is really drafting before ETR public.
as long as they didn't trade for a pick next year, if they got a high 2nd round pick, that would position them pretty well to take Jonathan Brooks. I want to find out the specifics on that.
Okay, no, they did swap. They pick swap.
Oh, they pick swapped. Okay.
Yeah, it finally updated. Okay, at first it wasn't updating. Usually it updates both right away. That was scaring me.
So Detroit, they could be driving a receiver here. They don't have a 2nd receiver. They lost Josh Reynolds. I guess they have Jamison Williams, who they took in the 1st round 2 years ago. He's done nothing in the regular season, but finally in that game against the 49ers, he had 2 touchdowns in the playoffs. You see any hope for Jamison Williams?
Yeah, I like JMO. I think a lot of his problem last year was 1, staying on the field, and 2, he kind of got lost in Sam Laporta's shadow. And Sam Laporta had such a good rookie year that I think we didn't even really pay attention to what Jamison Williams was doing. And so I think his kind of coming out party there in the playoffs was really just more of him asserting his like, hey guys, I'm still here kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know? So I don't think it was more JMO kind of fading as much as it was he just kind of stood in Laporta's shadow.
Yeah, so this pick will tell me a lot about what the team thinks of JMO. If they go receiver here, then they have no confidence in Jameson Williams. And if they don't go receiver early, first or second round pick, then I'm going to start taking Jameson Williams. I was kind of waiting to see what Detroit does here as a sign of what to do with him.
I was wanting to get off after Cowboys picked.
Yeah, but they didn't trade. They just swapped back 1 or 2 spots.
No, they dropped down like 5 spots. They went from
Okay.
24 to 29, kind of like the Jags did.
Maybe they're going to take Brooks. That would look well. Detroit, I would think they're moving up for Terry and Arnold here. We shall
The only
see.
person I would think that would threaten a running back might be Tampa at 26 and Arizona at 27. Those would really be the only 2 I'm scared that are taking a running back.
I don't think
The Lions have both their running backs. Green Bay has both their running backs. So I don't
But
anticipate either.
it's not urgent enough for Tampa or Arizona. It's not Dallas. With Dallas, it's urgent to get a running back. I don't think that Tampa or Arizona can just play the draft and let somebody fall to them that they want.
It's just been such a weird draft. There's been a lot of reaches. So, I mean, we had like 8 tackles taken in the
Yeah.
first round. So between offense and defense. So like, it's really kind of a weird,
Yeah.
there's a lot of skill position players falling right now.
Hey, I'm going to take a 1-minute bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Oh, do you think, Greg?
We're in the stretch run here. I'm excited to see. We're getting to like, now's when it gets really fun because Baltimore needs a receiver, Kansas City, Buffalo, like this is like the stretch run here to see who these
Dallas
teams
needs
are
a
taking.
receiver too. Really?
Yeah, Dallas could go,
Christian Kirk
could
projection.
go receiver.
Yeah,
Over under 1.5. Over under 1.5 rookie wide receivers ranked ahead of Christian Kirk by Michael Leone.
Under. Easy under.
Over.
That's it.
No.
Neighbors
projects for enough targets. He's going 2.
I know.
He's going 2. He's going behind Kirk. But Doomsday behind Kirk.
But Doomsday behind Kirk.
But 2. He's gonna have 2.
We'll see.
The only thing is it's gonna be a slow trickle down to the people are.
But he's gonna have Brian Thomas 20 picks behind 80. Yes.
Oh yeah, Brian Thomas is 125 in Leone's ranks. Yes.
He's gonna have Gabe Davis at 124.
Yeah.
I think I might have at 124.
Brian Thomas
Like
right next to Brock.
you guys can chase Brian Thomas up the board, but Marvin Jones is still available tonight.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones. Oh, that's a name I have not heard for a long time. Oh my god. He
But
retired.
how many of these guys
This
does the
guy
Jaguars
team?
have? Like they got Marvin Jones, they got Zay Jones, they got Gabe Davis. Like,
Lions moving up to 24.
Oh, the Cowboys traded back? We're getting our Jonathan Brooks pick, guys! They traded back to 29. Whoa. They traded back 5 picks. This is what we need. They traded back 5 picks. You guys are about to win $1,000, Chad.
Carry on Arnold. I like that pick a lot.
It's so big for your $1,000 equity. I'm serious. You're about to get a Jonathan Brooks pick at 29. Wow.
You get 172 Skolansky bucks. You get 100.
Jonathan Brooks, that's what I was wanting.
Yeah. I love where we live in a world where we could have a stream going where we could get jokes off like this. ETR subs get ready to learn 0% Brian Thomas. I mean, it's just so fucking niche.
As a Cowboys fan, I'm not excited about the idea of us drafting a running back in the first round.
Could the Lions go wide receiver here?
The Lions took Terry and Arnold. He kind of fell, so that was expected.
Yeah, that's.
What do you guys think? What are you doing with J-Mo?
Terry and Arnold, who is a massive baller. That's with CV1.
I mean, they needed a corner really bad.
I know we're not looking for that, but for this team that's relevant, he feels like an interesting.
Time to
similar
break out the
player.
snacks.
Quite frankly, I mean, I love him have loved him for multiple years, but at some point we have to see something from him, and we certainly haven't seen much other than a couple of fun plays here and there. And I don't really.
Are they going to say what Dallas got?
You like J-Mo or Marvin Mims more?
I don't get a vacuum, J-Mo.
What about J-Mo or Dontavian Wick?
Well, Dallas traded way back, right?
Yeah, I was trying to see if they had like what they got for it.
Yeah, they should be picking up, an extra second or third or something to go back that far. Green Bay, I think they want O-line.
Going nuts. It's pretty, it's a cool scene, man. This is awesome.
Earlier, I thought I had that they had brought Eminem back out on stage, but I realized I had just accidentally clicked my YouTube TV back to the very beginning of the stream. I was like, oh no, I'm not live anymore.
Eminem is dapping up Roger again. Again.
They should have just had him MC the entire thing.
I think so too. He was bigger than Barry Sanders. That was just wild to me. They all come out at the beginning, and Barry Sanders walks out, and I'm like, this dude is significantly smaller than Eminem, and he's one of the best running backs of all time.
Yeah. Are you guys seeing this lion on the back wall of the Lions war room here? It's like subtle but menacing.
Oh,
got the blue
yeah.
eyes.
I want to see Brad Holmes like punching people. And
Cowboys got a 3rd round draft pick for that.
Like it's like he doesn't even like
Third round pick.
the last year.
What are we? There's a cornerback here. The chat was saying.
Yeah,
there's a cornerback.
they paid a lot, by the way. Like I don't have the Spielberger chart in front of me, but giving up pick 73 to move 5 spots in the late first feels suboptimal.
The Spielberger chart is the chart he used. I love that.
If you think Dan Campbell gives a fuck about the Spielberger chart, I guess.
You know what the Spielberger chart is.
Dude's fucking steamy. He had to put on a blazer for tonight. And you think he knows what the Spielberger
This dude drafted a running back and an inside linebacker in the first round last year. He does not give a fuck about the Spielberger chart.
Brad Spielberger. Sorry, bud.
What's your take on Green Bay going into next year? They finished the season on a roll.
Well, I just think Green Bay needs to develop at the quarter. I mean, they're so young offensively that it's just a matter of experience and development. I don't think I like Tucker Kraft. I think Luke Musgrave's also a pretty good tight end, but I think that's a position they could upgrade. Like looking into the next couple of years, like
The tight end?
it's definitely a position they could upgrade.
I mean, they just drafted Musgrave last year.
And Tucker, they drafted them both.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. But I just don't think, they're not Sam Laporta, I guess is what I mean. Like, I think that element on offense would make Green Bay really good because they have really good wideouts.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you think Jacobs will do there?
Oh, I think it'll be stellar. I thought that was one of the best pickups in free agency was Green Bay picking up Josh Jacobs. He's one of the best running backs in the league. He's one of those like kind of Joe Mixon, like dude's a bell cow back. He leads the league in usually scrimmage yards about every year. I mean, he was number 1 in scrimmage yards like 2 years ago.
Yep.
So I don't think he's fallen off so I think that's a really good move for them.
Yeah.
And it fills that hole that they were hoping that AJ Dillon would fill.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking a lot of Jacobs. He's been really rising, but there's a lot to like. I mean, he's already been an RB1 from what he did 2 years ago. He'll play all 3 downs, right? There's nobody really there to share carries with. AJ Dillon is awful. So he'll get passing yards and PPR points. He'll get the goal line carries. The deal they gave him, there's only 1 year guaranteed on it. So it's really a 1 year deal. That's really set up well. The critics of Jacobs will say like he kind of came in over shape and didn't seem to be trying that hard last year. And that maybe he's checked out. But he's not old. Like he's still, I think, 25.
I think it's really hard to judge players in poor locations, especially such highly talented players. I just think that I think it's like anything, like the way you're raised, your environment, your what you're around has a huge impact on your attitude, on your performance, on your results. So being in a place like Las Vegas, you know, the draft picks they're getting are going to jail. The owner is moving the team to Las Vegas. John, I don't know his brother's name, Jay
Gruden?
Jay Gruden. Yeah, I can always remember Jay Gruden from Washington, but John Gruden, they had the John Gruden scandal.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it was
Derek
pretty much a
Carr came
mutiny.
in
I
and,
mean,
and he had an attitude. So I mean, they've had some issues. You know.
Yeah, they pretty much, there was a mutiny on you know, on the head coach. They fired their coach mid season. And well, like you said, that's a tough environment. So all right, so Green Bay goes O-line as expected.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is on the clock. I've been calling all year. I've been calling for Tampa Bay to take Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like him a lot. He's a corner that plays tough, that tackles. Tampa Bay needs a corner. They need to replace what's the guy's name? Carlton Davis. They traded him to Detroit. Tampa Bay does also need an edge rusher. They lost Shaq Barrett. So they could be going either one of those, but I think this is the place to get Kool-Aid. I think super fun name, right? What do you think on Tampa Bay might go?
I mean, I still like running back here. It's not one of their positions of need. I just think with the way the draft's played out, they could snag a really solid running back. They're picking really high. But they could probably address a different need, especially with the way these key positions have fallen. If you think cornerback's the better move, they could probably find a better cornerback at this point in the draft than a better running back. So,
I mean, the top rated running back is 18 picks away, a clear second round grade. You know, it's not like if there was a value there at running back, maybe they consider that. But I think the combination of it's not really an urgent need and we'd have to reach, I think that makes it no way that any team in this range takes a running back. You know, Rashid White was he was top 10 in fantasy points last year. And he's great. He's a great receiver. He's very inefficient on the run, though. They need a first and second down banger who can get them 3 or 4 yards, or better yet, 4 and 5 yards. And bring in Rashid White on second and third downs, passing situations. They need.
I really like. I have an affinity for Tampa ever since Baker got there. I'm a big Baker guy. So I've been keeping up with Tampa, and then partially some with Mike Evans as well. I'm a big Texas A&M fan, so I always keep up with the Aggies that graduate and go on to the NFL. But I think Tampa is in a really good position right now as far as their roster. They bounced back really well. They had played really well off a season. They were supposed to not be playing well. They were in cap hell. So I think what they got from the roster that they had is a really good sign. You know, if they can nail this draft, you know, they might still be the favorite there in the NFC South over Atlanta, especially with Atlanta botching their first round draft pick and with in the way we all think they did. This might be an opportunity for Tampa to solidify their spot there.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. I mean, they have everyone back for the most part from the team that won the division, except for the 2 defensive players we talked about. If they can get younger and replace those guys in the draft, you know, Baker and Evans, they kind of are what they are. I think they're fun guys to root for. I don't think you're going to a Super Bowl with that team, with those 2. I mean, do you see the Super Bowl, you know, with Baker and Evans leading you there? Or?
I think the NFC West is really wide open. Or, I mean, the NFC as a whole is really wide open right now as far as besides like the Lions and I would say the 49ers, there's not really a team that I'm like, that's the Super Bowl favorite right there in the NFC. And so for me, I think that they, just like last year, they get a good first round matchup and then they can play well enough in the second round. Hey, anything's possible. So, and plus a lot of that team has Super Bowl experience. There are still some of those players on the team. So, you have that aura still around lingering, and especially with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, those guys were there. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see them on the same level as Detroit. I mean, Detroit beat them pretty soundly this past year. They got their nucleus back. It's a good young nucleus. And
I thought that Philly, with as poorly as Philly played over the second half of the season last year, I thought they were going home either way. I was like, man, there's no way Tampa's going to win this game. I don't care if they have the home field advantage. Like, they're an okay team, And they
Right.
went out there and they handled their business.
I think that was more about Philly falling apart and being checked out. AJ Brown was out. Now give Philly AJ Brown and Barkley. Like Philly's going to be a lot better, in my opinion. I don't know if Jalen Hurts was hurt or what, but they were not the same team. I live in Tampa, so I'll be rooting for them, but I'm very skeptical.
Oh, I understand. I mean, they're not like it's not a Super Bowl roster for sure in that sense. Like, that's what I guess I meant by, like, they're not 49ers and Lions where that's a Super Bowl roster. They just, I guess, that kind of the feeling around the team, like it just feels like they have the ability to do that, especially if Baker can play well. I mean, they kind of showed last year if they can get quality quarterback play, the team can play really well.
I think Godwin could be a sneaky trade target. I really like Trey Palmer. I was surprised they re-signed Godwin. I wouldn't mind if they trade. He gets hurt all the time.
He's good in the slot. I like Chris Godwin. They took a center though. They took Graham Barton from Duke.
Oh, Tampa did? Didn't.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's a good value at this point. You can't go wrong with investing in the O-line.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting the number 1 overall position rank in anything at pick 26 is a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially at such a desirable position like a lineman.
I think Jensen retired. He was, I think he was the center. I don't know their O-line too much.
Oh, wow. And Arizona wasted no time. Their pick is already in.
Man, you're ahead of us here on the live stream. Who'd they take?
It hasn't come through, but there's like a little thing. It just says the pick is in versus the countdown timer.
I wonder if that means a trade. I kind of thought Carolina might trade back in to try to get AD Mitchell.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, they just had their guy. He fell. Wow.
Darius Robinson, the edge rusher.
Yeah. And they wasted no time. He was next on their board and they were next up to pick, so they made their pick.
Wow. So Buffalo has their choice of the receivers here. Things have really fallen well for them. Everyone's been praying for AD Mitchell to fall to them. The only player they had 3 visits with was Trey Franklin. I'm a big Ladd McConkey fan. I think he would fit in well with Buffalo. It'd be really interesting to see where they go here. 80 is kind of more like the high risk, high reward pick, and they need a number 1. So I would bet at this point they go with AD, even though before this, I've been picking them to get McConkey because I thought AD Mitchell would be gone. Leggett is on the saying that he's the highest ranked. I'm not a Leggett fan at all.
I'm not either. I don't think he's going to translate well to the NFL.
No, he had one good year. He's the kind of guy I see like Carolina or New England just being a bust.
Or like Atlanta would do, just pick him up. And I've just been really disappointed. I mean, I'm still not over the Atlanta pick. I had a lot of faith in Bijan last year. I drafted him first overall too. So I was really disappointed to see even with him being really underutilized, he was still the most productive rookie running back. I think he was like 10th in the league for scrimmage yards.
Yeah.
I mean, but just think about the player he could have been if Arthur Smith was using him correctly or utilizing him more. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I have a huge problem with Atlanta and the way they run their offense. I've just never really liked it.
Well, hopefully that's all changing. That's what we all were looking forward to before this draft. Now you got to like if they don't know what they're doing with that pick, like that makes you got to question everything they're doing now.
Yeah. Look, like that one guy said, that's a fireable offense right there. If they have a poor year and they took a quarterback after signing that's fireable. I mean, I think he should have been fired after they took the pick. Like the owner should have got on the phone and be like, "What did you just do? Like, what are we doing here?"
Yeah. Yeah, let's pop back over and see what they are.
How's your NBA bracket doing right now?
Well, I mean, we're pretty much early, right, in the first round. And it's been pretty chalky. You know, I didn't think the Bucks would do much without Giannis. Miami, I didn't think they would do much without Jimmy Butler. They kind of surprised me winning game 2. But they're just so feisty. I still think we're on track for Boston, Denver. I don't know. What are you making of the playoffs so far?
Well, as far as my picks go, I had Indiana over Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee has enough pieces without Giannis to win. And Indiana's been their worst matchup all year long. They have not found a way to get past Indiana. And I don't know what the reason is. I don't know why. Indiana spaces the floor well on them. But I just don't see Milwaukee winning 4 or 7 games against Indiana. They couldn't do it in the regular season, and they aren't showing it right now. So I picked Milwaukee.
Kansas City just trade?
Yes, they did.
You do not trade with the team that's knocked you out of the playoffs the last 2 years. That is not smart. Especially if Kansas City is grabbing the receiver. That
maybe they think that the guy they want will fall and they're going to take the extra pick.
It's more, I see it more like maybe they like 3 guys the same and figure we're going to get one of them anyway, so why not take the extra pick?
Yeah.
But the 3 guys that are out there are so different, right? Kansas City, I'd love to see them take Xavier Worthy, get the speed.
I'm surprised they're going again at receiver. I know that what now? They've had, this will be their 3rd year in a row with a receiver at number 1. Or no, I'm sorry. 2019 they took McCole Hardman. Last year
was Rashee Rice, but not round 1. The year before was Sky Moore, but that was round 2.
Sky Moore.
None of those guys were round 1 though. All right, Kansas City might go defense. Like they need to replace that corner, right? Who'd they lose? Snead, I think. They could use another interior lineman. They might go defense. There's so many receivers that they're probably thinking we can wait till the second round and get.
I wonder if they thought Baltimore was going to snag their corner and they wanted to move up.
Yeah, that might be it. I mean, they whoever it is, it's somebody they really want if they're bothering to move up.
Well, it's got to be a defensive back or a secondary player because Baltimore lost Patrick Queen and then their other starting cornerback. I can't remember his name. He was matched up with Rice the whole. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, their defense is not going to be the same.
And they lost their defensive coordinator to Seattle.
But that bodes well for fantasy that I think they're going to have to score more points. I could see Derrick Henry leading the league in touchdowns. I mean, Gus Edwards scored 12 touchdowns in this offense last year. I like Keaton Mitchell a lot too on my sleeper list.
Keaton Mitchell's a good player.
What will the defending champs do?
All right, this is for the 80 Mitchell, going after pick 27. Adam.
Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah was not the one that they lost, but the one that they're looking at.
Higher than expected. Shout out to Underdog for another $500 in Best Ball Mania 5 credit. To one of you viewers tonight, really do appreciate all of you watching live. I know there were a million live streams tonight, a bunch of you coming out for the ship chasing stream. So thank you to all of our guests and people hanging out in the chat. And the winner is G-Man 2346. G-Man, when the show is over, make sure you drop your Underdog username in a comment using this same YouTube handle so we can match it up, and we will make sure you get that $500 in credits. And we're still live. We need Xavier Worthy here to go in round one, and we'll be able to do another one of these. Or Jonathan Brooks, the Stephs.
Pick his in.
Xavier was so clean though, dude. Just with the Chiefs being the last pick, it's
Yes, the Chiefs, the new Tyreek, Xavier Worthy. Oh my God, that would be an eruption for the last pick.
So where does his ADP land if he goes to the Chiefs?
I'm taking him before Brian Thomas.
He's going it's round Brian Thomas.
He's gotta be.
It'll be after.
I don't have enough. I have enough Brian Thomas. I do not have enough Worthy.
Well, here's the thing: you immediately take him over Marquise.
Chiefs just traded up and are on the clock.
Oh,
wow.
Holy shit!
They're behind us.
Okay, here we go.
Could be true.
Yeah, Yoda seeing goes.
It's
He
true.
goes objectively hard default being for the trade. Subjectively, that trade being to the Chiefs, and then taking Worthy will give me nightmares all summer. Especially, but they must have. I wonder if they wanted 80 and just knew,
That's what I
hey,
was-
they want Worthy. We'll just get a little bit of value, and it's not a big
That's
deal.
what I was saying. Maybe they wanted a bigger receiver and.
Yeah,
they
you
knew
don't
it
want-
wasn't Worthy.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted Worthy. Like from what their scheme is and everything else, like the Bills need an X. Like they need a guy who actually can
Exactly.
win on routes. Like
Did you refresh?
Worthy wasn't a great fit for them necessarily.
We talked about
The
Brian
fucking
Thomas.
Chiefs, right after I was saying we were gonna walk off the stream at 32 with Worthy to the Chiefs, they traded up and took
Wow.
Worthy. That was fucking great.
We talked about Brian Thomas and Worthy.
That's the guy they
What about
wanted.
Worthy and
The
Odunze?
speed.
Does he flip Odunze in best ball?
Wow.
Yeah.
Sean
Yeah, he does.
wanted that earlier.
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he should in best ball, and I'm an Odunze guy. I think you have to.
I think ETR already had Worthy.
I know you really want Jonathan Brooks here, but I swear if the Cowboys take a
I remember
running
thinking,
back,
like, wow, they were- I think they already had him over Thomas, like, from the get-go.
Yeah, let's see if we get our
When I
Jonathan
did my
Brooks.
perfect draft video, and then I did like the exercise. I did Worthy to the Chiefs, and I said he'd be a mid fifth round
Well,
pick.
they've already got their pick in.
Already going late fourth, and he's definitely gonna slide.
He's gonna
back
slide.
at this,
Yeah.
even though that was the chalk spot for him to go, which, whatever. But yeah, he's gonna get flipped.
It was the chalk spot, but it was also, it's like that versus the field, and it's such a worse spot than the other spots because of
Right,
other
yeah,
receivers and.
yeah.
So it's like, it was very
Chalk
tough to
chalk
fight.
spot is like 50% of the outcomes, and the other 50% were all better, right? Like,
Yeah, and I think it was less than 50%, like.
yeah,
I thought it made just trade back. I thought it made a ton of sense for them to trade back out of that
I
spot.
thought, yes,
Yeah.
all right, 50% was too high for sure.
Yeah.
No, but I think you guys are right. Worthy has to go ahead of him. But Adunze is a much better prospect, and Keenan Allen's had his injury issues. He's older. I'm excited for Adunze landing with the Bears still. Like, he's with Caleb Williams, especially long term, like in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in best ball, it's a little trickier. But man, like, I'm still gonna take him in some best ball leagues. Like, when we have these crowded receiving rooms, there are situations where things can get consolidated, injuries and what have you. And so anyway, if Adunze starts sliding too much, like, he's gonna be a value.
I think he will. I think he's gonna be a value I think he's honestly probably be more of a value in Dynasty because
Come on, Jerry Jones, make my draft. Jonathan Brooks.
I wanted Roma Dunze. I thought he would fall this far, but
Yeah, they need a running back. No, Dunze was top 10. They want a receiver. AD Mitchell's on the board. He would be a nice compliment to Lamb, and they could grab a running back in the second round. But I feel like they have a plan with them trading back. If they wanted AD, they should have took him last time. There was no guarantee he would fall past the Bills. And we got 3 picks left, all the 3 best teams.
so the Bills must have known that the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the 49ers have zero interest in a wide receiver. Okay, I will take that. I will take that.
They need O-line. Yeah, they got to replace Tyrone Smith, right?
Yeah, and Tyler Biotish, he just had not, or not Biotish. Their right tackle they signed, Terrence Steele.
Yeah, and this is good.
It's not worked out.
Good for the running game. So I'll rationalize. It's good for Brooks that they got an O-lineman to block for him, and that Jonathan Brooks can still be their next pick. But they might have to trade up to get him.
Yeah, Cowboys pick 56 on day 2.
Yeah, and Brooks is rated based on this board. 14 players left. So he's going in like the top 12 tomorrow, according to this. Let's see. Was Kansas City always on the clock, or did they trade again? No, this is not right. Didn't refresh right. Baltimore's on the clock, right?
Yeah, it's just a pick is in.
All right. Baltimore needs a receiver. They need corners. I think the defensive back is a more pressing need here. This Cooper DeJean is pretty highly rated out of Iowa. I saw a funny video where he was talking about playing Kalen Clark in 101 in basketball because they both went to Iowa.
Yeah, I liked him there for the Cowboys too. I've been okay if they picked up Eugene. It says though Guyton, I didn't realize he started as a tight end in college, and he only played 14 games.
Huh.
He's a really raw prospect.
Well, yeah. He's pretty highly rated, though. I think everyone had him in the first round. He's an Oklahoma guy. That's Sherry Jones's alma mater, right? So,
Arkansas.
oh, is it Arkansas? Oh,
Mhm. But you know that Micah Parsons only played like half a season or like 9 games in college or something weird like that, and he ended up being really good. So
he changed positions, Micah Parsons.
well, I think he was in college as a linebacker, and the Cowboys drafted him as a linebacker, but they used him as an edge rusher.
Oh. Yeah, Cooper DeJean was pretty much a household name in college football world. Like, he was for an Iowa team that wasn't great. He was somebody that people talked about quite a bit. So I think that bodes well coming out of the Big Ten.
I remember. Okay. Yeah, Micah he played his first 2 seasons, but he opted out of the COVID season and then joined the draft. That's right. So he just didn't play that whole last year before, in between his college and the NFL year.
Oh, the COVID year?
Yeah, he didn't play that year. But he declared for the draft.
Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, Jamar Chase, I remember doing the same thing, Jamar. That's really risky, you know, when a player doesn't play for a whole year, like, I mean, that's risky, but I guess those were weird, you know, crazy times during COVID.
It worked out for him, so.
Yeah. He was a top 10 pick, right?
He fell to 15.
Oh, wow.
Cowboys they traded back. They traded back with the Giants, if I remember correctly, and the Giants traded up to get a receiver. 2021, yeah, I think that was Kadarius Toney is who they traded up for.
Oh gosh. What a bust. Nate Wiggins, yeah, he's another household name, defensive back. Good pick.
Yeah.
Fits the need.
They did, yeah.
All right, last pick here is the 49ers. If they go receiver, that's a sign that Ayuk is out. Don't expect that. I expect that they lost some of their defensive tackles, I think they need to replace. Trent Williams is getting old. They could use an O-lineman to bring in under him. I feel like their skill positions they're pretty set at. Kittle's getting old, but this would be too early to get a tight end. I do think they'll go tight end by the 3rd or 4th round. What would you say is the best pick of the night?
Like the steal of the draft or the best pick overall?
I'll leave it open-ended to however you want to interpret it.
Okay. I think the best pick in the draft was Malik Neighbors as far as like value and what the need was for the team. I personally don't like the pick, but I think from a roster building standpoint and what they're doing and the direction that they have, that it fits them perfectly. Now the best steal in the draft, like as far as like what somebody got for most value, usually that plays out later in the season, but I would say either Philly or Indianapolis, maybe getting those steals of those really high picks. But that would be, there's not really a lot of, like all of these players are projected to be Hall of Fame, all pro type players. So it's really hard to say like one player is going to do worse than the other, but because of the way they played in college and this draft in general was projected to be so top heavy. Usually it's the other way. Usually the 3rd and 4th rounds are nice and bulked up. And in this draft we got 1st and 2nd rounds that are I mean, you could take this guy or this guy and this guy or this guy, and I mean, you could have a million arguments as to why. So I think later though it'll play in the season. I think Philly really steals with the Quentin Mitchell. I like Quentin Mitchell.
Nice. Yeah, good take there. Philly always seems to draft well, so wouldn't surprise me at all, even though I would have rather took the Alabama guys than the small school guy. But he definitely was rated higher than that and seemed to fall. And Philly's good about scooping up that value. Yeah, I mean, a lot, went chalky here, right? Neighbors to the Giants. I think I thought the Chargers would take Neighbors, but this pick fits with Harbaugh. Really looking forward to seeing who they get at running back in San Diego now with Joe Alt in there. Like, this team is going to run the ball. I really hope it's Blake Corum.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is also a really good pick.
Yeah.
For where he was picked, what Arizona needs. Like, I think he pairs really well with Kyler Murray. I think that'll be like a fun pick to watch, even though they may not play. There may be an 8-8 team, 8-9 team now, but I think that'll be a fun matchup to watch. And
yeah,
Arizona will at least be competitive this year, I think, now with that addition to their offensive unit.
Well, their defense is terrible, but they have a lot of picks. They traded down last year, and with Houston.
Well, they picked up Darius Robinson here in the first round too. At the end there.
So that's right. That's the beginning. Like, they got to go defense or west of the way with the rest of their picks, and they're in a tough division, right? With San Francisco, I think Seattle's decent. So the Rams made the playoffs last year. Yeah, I think that Harrison is going to be, they're going to be high scoring. So I'm excited to see what Harrison does. I feel like this is the best spot for McCarthy. I'm happy with that pick.
Yeah, I just think McCarthy, he might have a hard time at his first year. Kind of like T-Law did. I just think that he was so.
I wouldn't even play him. I would let him sit for at least half, if not all, of the first year. I would not.
And you would just play Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. And I think that I would bet in their first 10 games they can be 5-5 with Darnold and be in wild card contention. And then it's like, at that point, why would you play McCarthy? And then maybe they'll lose 3 in a row. Suddenly they'll be 5-8 with 3 or 4 games to go. And that's when McCarthy will come in.
Yeah.
I would not. I think Sam Darnold can play. He was number 3 overall pick. The Jets were horrible when he got there. And Carolina was horrible when he got there. So give him these weapons. I think, it reminds me kind of the Alex Smith season when Mahomes was drafted. And the competition in camp brought out the best in both of them. And Alex Smith was almost the league MVP that year. I'm not saying Darnold will be that, but I think that they'll be able to be productive with Darnold. And I think Jefferson is that good too. I'm really a big Jefferson fan. A lot of people are fading him because of the quarterback, but I think Jefferson is a stud no matter who's back there. And that's the sign of a true stud. It's not like a Drake, not Drake May, who's the Atlanta?
Jake Daniels?
No, I was saying like the Atlanta receiver.
Drake London.
Drake London is like, oh, I don't have a good quarterback. I can't play good. Garrett Wilson's kind of the same excuse. To me, Jefferson, I don't think Cousins is that good. And Jefferson has put up huge numbers no matter who's back there. Like, that's what a really great receiver does. They make the quarterback look good. I don't think Jeff Goff is that good. But Amron makes him look good. So
yeah.
All
And
right,
DeAndre
so-
Hopkins had that effect on his quarterbacks too.
Yeah, exactly. We got a receiver pick here. Ricky Pearsall, that's a little bit of a reach and a surprise for sure. Did you get to see Pearsall at all?
No, this is a kind of a shocker for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ricky Pearsall is the Gators receiver. He was their lead receiver, but not really productive. He had a lot of highlight plays. He's kind of a slot receiver. Surprised. Let's see what these guys are saying.
Let's go, lad.
Oh, Buffalo traded out of the first round.
You've been saying.
I don't know one hand catch.
Carolina traded up. Wow.
They're taking lad. There it is. I just saw it on ESPN. Oh my God, between two defenders. It's legitimately one of the best catches of all time. I don't
How
give
about
a
this?
fuck what you think.
Draco.
It's like the greatest catch.
Draco, ADP watch. Where does Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah, Pearsall, he does have one of those Odell Beckham catches that made his name a household name, but that's like one play, you know.
Go.
Did somebody just say Brooks to the Panthers? Is that serious? I'm not on Twitter right now.
No, that better not happen.
Oh no.
Let's say 75.
It depends on if Ayuk gets moved.
I mean, that's a huge hole for them right now.
We've been talking that up all night.
He's a first round pick, and people.
Yeah, so the 49ers taking Pearsall, that's got to be the end of Ayuk, unless they're trading Debo. Yeah, that is it's definitely a sign. It's something.
Wow, Buffalo just decided to. I mean, from their perspective, like what they get 2 extra picks now for 1 pick. So from their perspective, and if they swapped picks with Carolina to get another pick, so they're going to pick first and the second round, plus they got an additional pick. I think that's actually the Buffalo might have won this draft just from trading out.
They only moved back 1 spot, you know, from the end of the first to the first to the second.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is,
Buffalo did. They just pick swapped, and then I bet Buffalo gets like a 3rd or 4th round pick.
It may not be that high to move 1 spot. There is, when you're a first round pick, you get the 5th year option on those players. So there is some additional control that you get, right? That's the advantage of, like, it's a big deal when you're taking a quarterback, because if you can get the quarterback on a rookie salary for an extra year, the 5th year, it's a big bonus. Like late first round is the best place to take a quarterback, but Carolina's not taking a quarterback. It could also be very valuable in a receiver to have that extra year and not have to pay them big. If so, maybe Carolina's going to go receiver here. They have Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen's over the hill. They need a receiver. I'm not sure what Buffalo's. They are getting a lot of picks, but they need players too.
Yeah, good players.
I don't know what the vibe is with them. I mean, are they going into rebuild mode when they traded Diggs? You know, I thought they would be aggressively moving up to get a receiver and be, you know, right back in the mix if they could have gotten Brian Thomas, even A.D. Mitchell, I thought, who was right here for them. Now I'm starting to wonder if Buffalo thinks they're rebuilding. You know, that when they traded Diggs, they got a pick next year. They only got 1 pick, and it was next year. It wasn't even this year. So I'm like, to me, that was the beginning of a sign that maybe they're rebuilding.
I don't know. That is kind of strange. You would think that, like, trading down once, like that's to get your player, or like maybe you think your player will fall. Trading down again, that sounds more like you're rebuilding and stocking picks.
Yeah, although I mean it is only 1 year, 1 spot. I mean, maybe it was just too no-brainer to trade down 1 spot. But yeah,
Well, they're really playing with fire doing that. I mean, their guy could easily go off the board. So,
well, they must have more than 1. They can't have just 1 guy, or they wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, but that's also bad too, because that means you can't evaluate very well.
That's true. Yeah, so Carolina might go receiver here. The Ricky Pearsall pick, yeah, Pearsall over Lad McConkey. Definitely.
That's surprising. I don't really know too much about Pearsall. I was thinking Lad McConkey was the next receiver off the board.
They're very similar profiles, and everyone across the board has graded McConkey ahead of Pearsall. I feel like they could have traded down and got Pearsall. They must be in love with him, like to take him in the first round. Really,
well, I think with all the offense going off the board, and then like there was such a drop off, and all the defense went that maybe they were afraid. Yeah, Carolina just took a receiver. Yeah, I think these teams are nervous that these offensive players are getting overreached, and they're not going to have a shot at them in the second round.
Exactly the guy we said they'd take, Xavier Legette. Good for them, man. I don't have any Legette, and I don't want him. Like going to Carolina. I mean, he's big. I get it. You know, Deontay is kind of like the possession guy. Xavier's the big X receiver, but you know, he did nothing until this last year, and he was like 23 playing as a fifth-year senior before he finally started showing up. Xavier Legette, last pick of the night.
This is so crazy. You don't normally see a board like this going into round 2. Cooper DeJean, Jerzon Newton, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Adonai Mitchell, Lad McConkey. That's your top 5 right there going into the second round. That's crazy. Those are first round draft pick grades.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of good players still available. Yeah, Kool-Aid, A.D. Mitchell. I mean, people were talking about trading up for A.D. Mitchell. McConkey. I'm not a Coleman fan, but he has a lot of fans too. And where will Jonathan Brooks finally land tomorrow? All right. Well, this was an awesome day. Thanks for joining, Isaiah and Callie, if you're still there. And look forward to more drafts all weekend. And we'll be back on next week and kind of taking an analysis of everything. Have a great rest of your night.
See you later. Bye, Greg.
All right.